again, friends. I think I'm losing my voice. And you are our friends.
Hello again, friends.
Welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru on another fun, sunny day here in the fun, sunny land of Cornette. I'm your host, the great Brian Last, and here he is, the leader of the cult of Cornette, Mr. Fun and Sun, Jim Cornette.
You know, I was laying back just to see how long that you would tickle those ivories, Brian, and play that funky music, white boy, and without breaking up or trying to break your train, and just to see how long it would go on. But when you finally screeched out like some kind of elementary school Wicked Witch play, hello again, friends, and you're my pretties, all of you. Is that the way it's going to be today? I've had some. I'm not even going to go into it because I'd have to be talking about family members' medical records, but we had a little stressful incident for about 2 or 3 hours the other day, or just evening and a half ago, but everything's fine now. And all of the other things, it's the oppressive heat has returned and various things like that. But at least, Brian, I'll have you. I'm trying to go for the positive, the happy talk, as you term it. And you've come up with this phrase that you use every once in a while. There's a good thing I can talk about, Brian. The Bundy family is growing and flourishing here on the grounds of Castle Cornette. You know the Bundy family, don't you?
Is this like some kind of role playing you guys do? Like you're Al and Stacy's Peggy and
no. Why can't
her parents are Steve and Marcy?
Why can't you get your mind out of the gutter? And besides, it wouldn't be Steve, it'd be the other one. What was the other one's name?
Was it Jefferson?
Jefferson, but nevertheless.
Ted McGinley? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Ted McGinley. Whatever happened to him? It seemed like he just vanished. Nevertheless, that's the family of deer that live here on the castle and adjacent to and around the area of the castle grounds. They wander and migrate and mitigate around. But Stacy named them Al and Peg and Bud and Kelly because it's the papa deer, the mama deer, the little girl deer and the little boy deer. And the kids are growing. They're almost fence hopping height at this point. It's amazing that they have expanded at the rate they have over the last. Of course, I've got the deer feed down in the bucket under the redbud tree that says it's guaranteed to grow in the flossy coat, whatever the goddamn attributes are of a growing deer. It promotes them.
There's a sign.
What are you saying?
There's a sign you have that says this?
No, it's on the bag of the deer food. That's how I got. Yes, on the bag there.
You made it sound like you had a sign up on the property.
No, well, it's a sign from above that it's going to be growing. No, it's the labeling on the product is what I've been feeding them. And Peg will now, it actually expects it at this point. At almost the same time every evening, she comes up to the back door to get her apple. She loves apples.
Oh, you guys are just dying for ticks. You guys are just begging for Lyme disease. Just please.
Listen, oh, come on now, for heaven's sake. We have a professional fumigator come and spray on a regular basis the perimeter of the house. But nevertheless.
So you're poisoning them too. It's like some weird torture chamber.
No, just the perimeter of the house, not out in the goddamn. What is the matter with you? What we do is we open the back door. And if there will be Peg, and we'll have the apple in our hand, we'll hold it up in the air, and she sees the apple, and then you bowling ball roll it. They don't like things thrown in the air, but if you bowling ball roll it, then we walk out slowly, get about 15 feet away, bowling ball roller the apple, and then turn around and go back, and she walks right up and takes it, and gives us a pawing motion with her front paw.
Oh, yeah.
No, every time you give her the apple, she walks up to the apple, she paws like 2 or 3 times on the ground, like, thank you. And it takes the apple. So I've ordered some little fun outfits and hats for them. And I'm thinking about some kind of traveling act. The little hats on the little deer. It'd be
Do you take the
lovely.
stems out before you roll the apples?
These are just goddamn apples in a bag from the store.
Bagged apples.
Well, what other
Not even the good stuff. You're poisoning them, and then you're giving them like the crap apples.
No, not crab apples. Regular apples they sell in the grocery store for people to eat, not the crab apples.
I said crap apples, not crab apples.
What kind of apple? What are you talking about? Road apples? Crap apples? We call them road apples down here.
Were you a fan of Married with Children?
Yes.
I mean, did you have enough time to even watch it really when you were... It was on mostly when you were working, actually.
Oh, yeah, but then it went into syndication, and then also, you could record the thing because there was Kelly Bundy. So there has to be some enjoyment to life. I wasn't just recording all wrestling. I've got a bunch of I think probably 2 seasons of In Living Color also.
The first 2 seasons, I hope.
Well, yes, of course. And all 6 episodes on a beta tape somewhere of Erie, Indiana. Do you remember that?
I used to like it. That was a show my dad told me about that one day. He came home, he read about it in the paper, and he put it on. And I loved it. I actually bought a digital copy to show my kids.
Greatest show in the world, lasted 6 episodes.
6? Well, maybe. Was it more than 6 episodes?
I say 6. Actually, Police Squad lasted 6. Erie, Indiana probably lasted a half a season. They used to
it was a cool
do
show.
half seasons in those days and send the hook out for the shows that didn't get about 15 or 20 million viewers. They said, "Oh, get that shit out of here. They're taking up space."
This may have been more something Stacy would appreciate, but did you ever see Freaks and Geeks?
You have asked me about that before here on the program, and it necessitated someone who may or may not have even been you, I'm not sure, to send us the box set of Freaks and Geeks, which resides on the shelf in our TV room, and I've still never seen it.
You should watch that. You may really like that.
I don't know if I'd like the Geeks, but I'd like the Freaks.
No, the Geeks are the coolest ones, actually.
Are the Geeks better than the Freaks?
The Geeks are, they're not getting any action or anything, but they've kind of got the adventures that you could probably relate to.
I don't know how to take that blind, having not seen the program, so I will assume it's not an insult.
I'm guessing you weren't picked first for like dodgeball, correct?
No, generally I avoided either side of the dodgeball team because at some point you were good. I only threw things at people I was mad at because I had a tendency, even when I was a smaller child, to take things personally quickly.
Like apples to deer.
Well, no, the animals are a different thing. But people, if you throw something at me and hit me with it, chances are I'm going to chase you at some point and fucking throw it closer range.
I guess the point is,
anyway,
Freaks and Geeks, another great show that lasted 1 season, and it was clearly brilliant when it aired, and whenever it aired was like, who knew? It was like Saturday 1 week, Wednesday 1 week. You couldn't keep up with it, but great show.
And I'm struggling now to remember all of the characters, but you say that there is there's evidence that this show aired now besides my Betacam or Beta TV, Beta tape off TV. You say there's evidence of this. Wait. Is it a professionally produced thing or some kind of bootleg operation?
Wait, what did you say you recorded on Beta? Erie, Indiana?
Yes.
You recorded that on Beta? That aired in, 91, 92?
Yeah, well, I had my first Beta
I know that.
In 1983.
But the idea you were still recording on it, I didn't realize, I guess, that Beta blank tapes were readily available still at that point in the early 90s.
Well, then everything was readily available to me because I was ordering my VHS and Beta tapes from... Oh, goddamn, what was the company in New York? I was getting them by the case. They had a case of 10. I was getting them a case at a time for both formats. And see, that was the thing. And I would go mad. I'm glad I was 20-something years old and had all this energy because in integrating into my schedule on the road in wherever I was, especially from 1980, late 85 through the end of my tenure in WCW in 1990, right? So that's a 5-year period. I lived in Charlotte, and I still recorded all of Crockett's television programs that we produced that aired in the Charlotte metro market, which was all of them, as well as the TBS shows, as well as potentially pay-per-views or any other goddamn thing that was going on that I needed to get. And then, as we mentioned before, my friend Norman Dooley would send me the other stuff from around the territory days via the U.S. Postal Service. But Brian, it was more difficult to do that then than it is today, because I'm trying to visualize the setup, but I'm going to say between 4 and 6, 4 or 5, one or the other, 4 or 5 different home videotape machines in my setup around my television. And back in those days of cable, it was very basic. Charlotte, North Carolina, you could get like 44 fucking cable channels, right? That was it at that point. But it was possible, instead of going through the fancy Dan DVR box or just the cable boxes they have today, if you had cable service and you went into a goddamn high-end video machine tuner, you could set different channels. And the reason why I had all these different goddamn video machines set up was because when I would leave town on a tour for Crockett or whatever, I would have to set the VCR for the Saturday and Sunday TBS shows. And then we added the one on Friday, the Power Hour that I was hosting, right? But then there were 2 different local stations that aired the Crockett syndicated shows, NWA Worldwide and NWA Pro, or whichever 2, whatever they were called at the specific time. And if it was a pay-per-view weekend, I had to call the local cable company. That's where that line comes from. In those days, you had to call and order it over the phone. And then I had to set a machine for this. So I had, at one point in my setup, 4 or 5 different video machines running to record all these different programs. Have I bored you?
Not at all. I guess my question
that wasn't a full-throated fucking denial, but go ahead.
My question still comes to you recording on beta in the 90s. When did you stop recording on beta? And were you recording anything on VHS?
I stopped recording on beta when I stopped recording. Beta was a better format.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. But again, I never hear about anyone recording anything in the 90s on beta. I figured that it was, again, you were getting it right from a good source. But I figured it was near impossible to even, I don't remember seeing it in stores.
Oh, no, au contraire, mon frère. But no, I could get the tapes all day long up through where I stopped recording. To be honest, once I left WCW, I did not feel the need to follow their programming, right? And then with Smoky Mountain, most everything was on VHS, because that was easier to deal with, obviously, with everybody else involved. And I'm getting the master tapes on professional quality tape anyway, so it's not like I need to preserve this shit at home. And because I had the beta machines, and one of them, knock on wood, my pride and joy that I got in 1986 is still fine and functional today. But I would just, if I wanted to record regular programs, I would set them, because I still had several video machines set up, and that way it left my VHSs clear if I'm using them to copy something. Don't you see?
It's amazing.
I've got the Rolling Stones pay-per-view concert from when did that, was it like 19?
Was it 89?
Well, I've got that one, but I think they did another one. Or maybe I'm not thinking of, I have several concerts on pay-per-view that were done from the 80s through the 90s that I did on beta because it's a better video quality. And why not? Because I'm the only one that's going to fucking watch it.
Hey, since you opened this door, why don't we discuss one of the big issues happening right now? And again, I'm losing my voice a little bit. I apologize. Although some listeners may like it if I lose my voice. But
some listeners have offered to take your voice away or at least interrupt the fucking normal flow of it from your fucking throat to your goddamn mouth.
You have recently talked about the fact that you couldn't order the pay-per-view. And we had to talk about the fact that pay-per-view is a dying thing. In demand is done. UFC just announced their new deal with Paramount Plus. Or I should say just Paramount, because they're going to be simulcasting things or airing things directly on CBS, the Tiffany network. But they announced this major deal, and we could talk about some of the specifics and how we could discuss monopolies too. We could discuss a lot of things. But what do you think about the fact that they are very publicly coming out and saying the pay-per-view model is dead? We're getting away from the pay-per-view model. There's nothing there. I mean, I saw some quotas like, there's nothing there except movies and boxing. And I don't even hear about boxing anymore.
Well, and that's most of the people that are boxing these days are doing it at Costco. Here's the thing with it, and a lot of people, there's going to be, by the way, Brian, I'm pretty sure some type of chatter or rumors or just people not knowing what the fuck's going on over the next few days, at least on some kind of social media. Maybe it might not be widespread, but in my little town here, it was on the news today, the local news, but while they were talking about Paramount having the streaming rights for UFC to, as you just said, go to their fucking thing that they do, the graphic on the screen at the bottom just said, Paramount buys UFC. Because I was on the phone, right? And I had the TV on, but it was muted. I'm on the phone and I look up and I see that graphic and I wait, what? And I pause it when I get off the phone. I go back and they're talking about streaming rights. And it wasn't even my afternoon man, Gilbert Corsi, that, did OVW and understands the world of this. It's the noon people, and they're reading the copy that, the story, but they didn't really specifically. They said, oh, yes, Paramount has bought the rights to televise these events, but they didn't. There was a lot of ambiguity as to who bought what and whether they just sold the UFC. So I bet you we're going to hear some, if it was like that in other local news areas or whatever, we might hear some rumors. Hey, I don't know what these fucking services all are or what I need to do, how I must qualify, what paperwork I need to fill out. Do I need to show proof of citizenship? And then do they have to come to my house with an organ grinder and a monkey and play the saber dance while I jump through hoops? Hoops, Brian, I say hoops. To see these things.
Well, for UFC fans, this is a big savings. Previously, they were with ESPN, where to get the pay-per-views, I believe you had to subscribe to and pay for ESPN's app and then pay an additional, $69 per pay-per-view event to stream it through the app.
Well,
now,
but
Paramount Plus is like $11, $12, somewhere in that range. So it's a great savings, and a lot of these fights will be on CBS. The question is, will it expose that maybe there isn't as big an audience for UFC as has been touted? Or will it go the other way? And will it show a big audience and lead to a big new exposure on that growing format television?
But I understand.
$1.1 billion average annual value per year for 7 years.
That's just insane. But I understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. But in the first place, again, a lot of people, whether it'll save them money or not, if they were the most dedicated, like the wrestling fans that are the most dedicated, they're figuring out ways to get the wrestling, right? I would assume it's the same thing with the UFC people. They're most dedicated. They've already got this shit. Now they need to get some other shit. They need to drop that shit they got, and they need to get this other shit. But in the case of the wrestling, as we'll be talking about, or we're going to talk about it, here in a minute that the shit they need to get ain't even there yet. And how are you going to get the shit? Who gonna be bringing the shit to you? Who will be shipping the shit to you, Brian? And who will be receiving the shit? This is all questions that still need to be asked and answered about this whole fucking rigmarole.
Yeah, that wasn't really a question or anything I could easily jump in and follow up with. But Jim, we will continue discussing this.
It was a statement of my goddamn position on the matter.
So let's look at the big picture here. And last week, as we were doing a classically themed show, we did have one story that we addressed, which was the WWE ESPN announcement. And I guess it's still being ironed out which cable services will offer free access to subscribers through cable. That's something we've seen in the past. I get Peacock for free through my Xfinity Comcast cable. But again, if people aren't paying for cable, if kids aren't paying for cable, it really doesn't affect them. It affects just us fuddy-duddies with cable. But they've got that deal. Brandon Thurston posted something. Between UFC and WWE, again, same parent company, TKO.
Yeah.
They will have media deals in 2026 with Netflix for Raw and international WWE, with Disney, which is ESPN, for WWE premium live events, with NBC Universal for SmackDown, with Nexstar for the NXT with CW, Paramount, the UFC. It says here a smaller deal with Fox, which is Evolve on Tubi.
Or not to be.
And it says here
determined.
WBD is the only major I could think of without. And of course, they have AEW, but I could tell you another one out there, and there's a couple rumors going around about this, especially with the talk about what's going to happen to the WWE catalog. YouTube. Don't be surprised if YouTube jumps into the fray here, because WWE started these vault channels for a reason, and they've seen the potential revenue. So don't be surprised if there's another deal there, but
well, that's going to be the only place for us old folks with the old crotchetiness to be able to see the classic library. But with that classic library, they could put shit out there forever.
The idea, though, that this company, WWE's parent company, I shouldn't say owns, that they have all these deals in place with all the major players.
I just, by the way, when you read those off, I counted 5 confirmed and 1 that you speculated on, which, as you said, runs the gamut of every major goddamn outfit except for poor old Tony Khan's friends.
So whether you're Tony Khan or anyone else, let's say there's a different billionaire right now who ran a company and it's not AEW. You know what I mean? It could be anyone. And let's say that's a really great wrestling company and everyone likes it. It's the same situation. There's a shutout taking place where if Tony lost WBD, he would have nowhere to go. Not to say he couldn't, again, with his money, he could do whatever he wants. He can create a platform. He could buy a platform. But in terms of what's there now, WWE and their parent company are locking down every single major media player. It's going to be like venues. You think any of them are going to want deals with AEW? They probably can't have one contractually. You can't set up in this venue until 24 hours after we leave, or whatever it is. But what do you think of the idea? Again, it could be Tony Khan, and it is. But no matter who is a number 2 right now, the next number 2 in the States is TNA, and they're under the WWE umbrella. They're all but sold to WWE.
They're like the Beatles on the top 40 chart in 64. What the fuck?
And that's the next television deal. And they got AAA, and they'll get a television deal in the States for AAA. What do you do? Like, how does a number 2? This is so much different than it was under Vince, who did everything he could to crush any competition. This is some of it deliberate to hurt AEW, but they're not signing these deals to hurt AEW. They're just trying to get as much as they can out of this before they try to sell it eventually. But they're creating a situation where no one else...
You're asking 18 questions with commas at the end.
I'm sorry. There's a lot here to think about.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. But here's the thing is that Vince tried to destroy competition and didn't want to work with anybody else. And usually if he did work with somebody else, it was either that with me in Knoxville, I was no threat and didn't want to be, or with everybody else, it kind of went, and Lawler in Memphis. But, he couldn't work with AAA, but it didn't matter. He was doing his thing. But now that they want to control the literal fucking world, and they have those Beatles spots in the top 5 where, okay, we got the SmackDown, we got the Raw, we got Saturday Night's Main Event, we got NXT, we got, and TNA under their umbrella, and AAA coming in. You said Tony Khan could buy his own outlet. Actually, that's not even true anymore. Because now for any, poor old Shad's only worth $12 billion. And for any type of media outlet, these days, it's more than that to just buy the fucking thing. They can't. This is a vast WWE conspiracy to, basically shut it. They're not even trying to shut a lot of people out because there's not a lot of people that are even going to get close enough to the door for you to slam it in their face. But they want a presence with every media and every media outlet so that they can milk as much money out of each one of them as possible.
So they can get as much as they can when they go private and sell to the Saudis.
And I'm not saying that any of that thing, ain't going to happen either, but I'm just saying right now, it's yes, they can choke off Tony, but there's not even anybody else that can even play this fucking game anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you started up a wrestling company tomorrow and you had funding and you had talent and you were ready to go, what are you going to do? I mean, anyone can right now go on YouTube, and I don't know if a WWE deal with YouTube would prohibit anyone else. I probably wouldn't. Everyone could upload their own stuff. But at this point, social media and YouTube may be the best way to, I mean, Amazon's still out there and stuff, but again, it's a shrinking marketplace, and some of it's intentional because you're preventing any competition from ever being able to exist.
But
if you have every streaming platform locked down in an exclusive deal, how can anyone else exist?
And I mean, to a lesser extent, maybe the mixed martial arts world and boxing, we don't know that we're not experts. Who knows, who has the power these days. But they do have somewhat of a conglomerate monopoly on any kind of combat sport. And here's the thing. If there is a well-off fan of wrestling who also was a multimillionaire, and he said, you know what, for the love of the game, I'll put something together, and on a regional basis, I say that you could probably, if you put significant time, money, and effort in it, had a location that you could afford and the conditions were right, had access to fucking local sponsorships and people that would get other media that would get involved. You could do independent shows in a regional area like the Southeast or the Carolinas on maybe, I don't know whether it'd be every couple of month basis, you do 2 or 3 shows in a row where you're bringing in talent, figure out some kind of TV thing. And if a guy was willing to just say, fuck it, we're going to do this and hopefully find the people to do it well, and just say, I don't care whether I make money or not. After a couple of years, if you did it well and you had still local television for something like this, you could probably do some big independent shows and you would do okay. But I don't know if you'd live long enough to make all your startup money back. But I mean, otherwise, you ain't going to be in the big time wrestling business, boy.
So you know how I think, because I've been saying it. Again, irrespective of the content of AEW, I think Tony needs to fight back, and he needs to fight back harder, and he needs to have a team of people ready to fight back because they're fucking with him every way they can. And even when it's just like an inconvenience. They fuck with him. Just like there's no excuse sometimes. They've announced they're running a pay-per-view against All Out. Directly against them because, why not? But Tony has to do something too. It can't just be giving cute quotes to the wrestling press. I think there should be a fucking campaign, and it should be like, WWE makes all this money. How come they don't pay their wrestlers as much as we do? Like, just make it every discussion they don't want to have publicly, and just bring it to them with that. That's all you could do right now, because all they care about is that stock price. That's the only thing they care about.
Yeah, but here's the thing. For the people that they would be speaking to or that would listen to them, they already know these things, and it hadn't really been a goddamn issue so far. And so
I'm not saying advertise it to the wrestling fans. I'm saying forget about the wrestling fans. Bring it to the Wall Street Journal. Take out a full-page ad. Bring it to the business community. That's what hurts them. It doesn't. How you trash WWE may hurt WWE to your own existing fans, but it's not going to do anything to grow AEW or not going to do anything to really hurt their company. If you bring it to the business community, then you have a shot.
Okay, but then tell me why that the Wall Street Journal or the business community or these people care when either here comes this Rick Moranis looking motherfucker in.
Fuck it, full page ad. Do what Vince used to do.
Nobody reads the ads.
I'm saying attention.
Listen to me is what I'm saying. Consider the source. You've got the WWE, the worldwide leader in sports entertainment, with all the fucking billions of dollars on the stock exchange and the goddamn superstars. They're everywhere. This goddamn they're the big deal here. They're the goddamn, people are in the goddamn administration. These people, they're all over the place. They're filthy with them. And here comes Tony Khan as he talks for Tom Burke, and maybe one other person out there. He reminds me of Kenny Levitt in his younger days. He's got a lot of energy.
Oh, come on. That's ridiculous.
The WWE could say in response to anything that AEW could say, well, look at this. Here's a montage of their programming, and there's the blood drinking and the
good
head slicing and the fucking
nonsense. Want that. Hey, listen, they're not embarrassed by it. If WWE brought that to anyone else's attention, they're still not going to be embarrassed by it. That'd be a favor.
I'm just saying that, to me, if you said, look, here is who is knocking us, and they saw that, they'd say, fuck, we don't want to get involved with these people.
I think if you had a serious campaign, Tony Khan shouldn't talk, doesn't have to talk. A serious campaign against WWE for good reason, for everything they're doing to fuck with you. It could really hurt them in the long run if done right. And again, I don't think Tony Khan should be sitting there.
Well, if done right, yes, and the eggs at Denny's would work also if done right. I just don't think they could do it right. I don't think anybody will listen to them in the face of this financial juggernaut. And, they can be discredited by look at the way that a lot of the shit that they come off or that they do. And you're trying to criticize us, and they can't hit them with the monopoly or the antitrust or whatever because they're on TBS and TNT and the WBD and the VD and what other things they're on, STD.
Hey, as of now, from what we understand, Tony Khan has not shopped Ring of Honor or any other AEW programming he could create. To the point where we heard that CW was interested, and he wasn't interested in even talking to them. And then they gave NXT a bunch of money that Tony could have used. But if Tony goes and he starts trying to shop these shows, if he gets to the point where he's not just going to give WBD everything, which may be tough if they own a piece. But if you're going to try to shop any of those shows and you can't get any conversation started because of that, that's where you could start the monopoly talk.
I don't know. I'm glad he's not my defense attorney, Tony Khan.
What do you think this says, going back to the TKO thing, ending with this? What do you think this says about the future of TKO, WWE and UFC? The deals they've all just announced in the last week and a half? The commercialization of everything on these shows? What do you think like the next 5 years is going to be like? Do you think it's going to become more fan-friendly? Do you think it's going to become more just a complete money grab? What do you see this as?
Well, I don't know, fan-friendly. I'm sure they'll be as friendly to the fucking fans as they can possibly be, Brian. They're going to be patting them on the back and rubbing their tummy and reaching in their pocket. And they can come here, friend. Let me tell you all about it. They're going to be friendly to those people. They're going to introduce them to new, different shows and that they can watch and merchandise they can buy. And they're going to give them happy lives with all this. Of course, they're going to be friendly. And yes, that's the thing is that we've seen now there's a goddamn Slim Jim logos on the tables that are under the ring for no reason that they pull out to violently throw each other through. And we're supposed to be worried about when it makes the whole sight comedic. When a guy's being thrown through a Slim Jim table. They'll logo anything. They'll sell to the Saudis. They'll do whatever they need to. Well, I mean, don't mean sell the company, but they'll sell shows to the Saudis.
Eventually they will.
Hold on. They'll sell shows to the Saudis. They'll sell secrets to the enemy. I don't know. They'll sell anything they can sell. And the same thing with UFC and the same thing with the bull riding people. If whatever they can fucking sell, they're going to sell until it's either not just a license to print money anymore, or as you said, the Saudis or some other goddamn, who knows, somebody will strike oil in Switzerland and it'll be an evil Swiss billionaire. But yeah, they'll sell it unless they're making so much money off of it, they can't fucking afford to sell it. Not that kind of
Vince
evil.
Von Trapp. Sell it to me.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
You want to play chicken?
he only plays chicken with a real chicken.
Yeah, he only plays chicken on the Merritt Parkway.
Yeah.
Well, this has been cable news. And Jim, why don't we stay on the topic of...
Yes.
I'm hitting things with my mouse. Why don't we stay on the topic of the world of cable television? We did not review AEW Dynamite last week on the show. I'm going to guess you didn't watch it knowing we weren't going to review it. Is that a fair guess?
No, because there was a lot of things going on over here, and I took the opportunity not to watch that week's program. And I'm sorry for the people who are living and dying with this, but it does me good every once in a while to refresh myself.
All right, so that means you'll be ready to go this week, and we'll have that review coming up in a few days on one of these shows. But Jim, let's talk about the ratings, and you'll get a little bit of information about what you missed this past week.
Oh, joy.
AEW Dynamite, Wednesday, August 6, 2025, 8 to 10:12 p.m. On average, 711,000 viewers.
Holy mackerel, they're back up into the mega show territory. What in the world did they do to deserve a thing like this?
This is up 16% from last week, which was 612. 16% from the 4-week average, which is 611. So this is a big, big success.
I mean, was
it
it there suddenly, did they advertise something heavily that I didn't pay attention to? Or was there some reanimated corpse of Buddy Rogers was in the main of what happened?
Well, they do announce their matches beforehand, obviously, on social media, but the biggest thing with AEW going into this event, I think, was the buzz about there being potential problems between MVP and Speedball Mike Bailey, the two baddest motherfuckers in the locker room. You hate when those are the guys who have heat with each other.
Hold on now, MVP. We're not laughing about you now, just so we make that clear. He could strangle me through the fucking phone line.
But there was some buzz about that. Again, I don't know if that led into this, but that was the biggest thing people were talking about around AEW. And quite frankly, if I was Tony, I would have put MVP out there for a promo to start the show. Build into what people were buzzing about, but let's go into it. You'll find out what they did do.
Uh-oh.
These were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. MJF's backstage promo and the start of Jon Moxley versus Speedball Mike Bailey.
Oh, good Lord.
With picture-in-picture, 766,000 viewers.
Okay, and they started much higher than they have been over the last recent weeks, let's say. So was there some big lead in that led to this, or did they retain this audience, or where are we going from here? And Moxley, and so one would think, as you said, that since that was out there, one ought to either make something out of it or something, but instead they're feeding the spitball to Dick the Boozer.
Well, let's go to quarter two, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. The continuation of Moxley versus Speedball. Tony Storm and Alex Windsor's backstage promo. The Death Riders Darby Allin angle. An ad break. And Mercedes Moné's promo. 727,000 viewers.
Well, again, a drop, but not nearly the drop that they normally have. That's only 39,000 people. That's not close to the way they used to drop. More in line with what they've been doing lately, where they start low and stick with it, but this is still a little higher.
We go to quarter three. This is going to be interesting. This match didn't hemorrhage viewers is amazing, and what a spectacle it was. Alex Windsor, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. Alex Windsor versus Billy Starks versus Queen Aminata versus Sky Blue.
Ooh.
With picture-in-picture, 718,000 viewers.
You saw this? You were a witness to this?
I watched this, and it was sloppy at times, and it went so long. All I'm thinking is, even if you're a fan of these women in this division, this match seems like it's going a long time. And then apparently it did not chase everyone away.
Well, we must applaud their efforts.
We go to quarter four, 8:45 to 9 p.m. The post-match of the previous match with Mercedes Moné, Tony Storm, and Athena. An ad break, the Young Bucks backstage angle, and Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher's live promo. 766,000 viewers.
What in the world?
And the high point in the key demo, 263.
For the last 15 minutes of the first hour, that never happens. They're back up to where they started from. That is
yeah.
Did many of the other networks go off the air suddenly for an extended period of time? What is different about this show than everything else they've been doing? It's fascinating. I'm not even knocking them. I'm just genuinely puzzled now.
Well, we got our quarter five, the big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m. Cope's backstage promo, and the start of the Young Bucks versus Brodito, the team of Brody King and Bandito. Brodito, with picture-in-picture, 744,000 viewers.
And that, I would think, is their biggest start to a 9 o'clock hour in months, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that was also the biggest quarter four in as long as I can remember.
Yeah. But now here's the question. Now that they've actually put it to the ultimate test, the Buckaroos, where do we go from here, Brian, now that all of the children have grown up?
We go to quarter six, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. The continuation of the Bucks versus Brodito with picture-in-picture ads, the Mark Briscoe MJF video, and the Hurt Syndicate backstage angle. 728,000 viewers.
Okay, they're down 16,000, but still remarkably consistent for a show unlike in, I would think, years at this point, at this level. And what did they do with MJF and the Hurt Syndicate?
Well, he's not in the Hurt Syndicate anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What is happening
MVP
about
loves
that?
him like a little brother, but it's over, and he better watch out when he gets the world title because Bobby Lashley is hungry.
That's it.
for now. But Jim, quarter 7.
Do we have any idea what it was going to be before they said, oh, fuck no, we ain't going to do this shit? All right, never mind.
But we go to quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. An ad break. The FTR Stokely Hathaway backstage angle. Did you see this promo where because Stokely has to wrestle Cope next week? Somehow that's the punishment. He has to wrestle Cope. He does this promo. He goes, "You don't think I know how to fight? I've been fighting my whole life. I'm short. I'm bald. I don't get no hose." And as he's saying this, Cash Wheeler can't keep a straight face. It's like Gene Okerlund standing next to him. But that promo.
And by the way, that would work if they'd ever bothered to make him a respected, legitimate, established main event manager and put some heat on him. But now it's going to be another one of these fucking things you'd see down at the rec center and on an indie show.
The Swerve Okada video, a Swerve Strickland ramp promo, Mark Briscoe and Adam Page's backstage angle, and an ad break. 669,000 viewers.
Again, that late in the show, they started with that the last several episodes. So bravo. But what is it about this? They had a goddamn Cage World title loser leave and gets chainsawed fucking deal a few weeks ago. It didn't do this. What the fuck's going on?
Again, the only thing I remember was the buzz around the Hurt Syndicate speedball problems, and nothing really came about on this show dealing with that. We go to quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. We have a 12-minute overrun. Queen Aminata and Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander's backstage promo, and the start of Mark Briscoe versus MJF, who are picture-in-picture, 620,000 viewers. 12-minute overrun, almost a quarter. Continuation of Briscoe versus MJF, and the post-match with Adam Page, 646,000 viewers.
Good Lord. Okay. When you've read that main event off, I was going to say, well, you know what? Briscoe and MJF, that's what they wanted to see. And that's the thing they all tuned away from. That's the only thing in that parade of terror that you just read off that would have interested me in the least was MJF versus Mark Briscoe. And that was the worst thing on the show in the ratings. So now I guess they've officially nullified MJF with this wishy-washy bullshit with him.
You know how I feel, and I like Mark Briscoe, but I think the way he's been booked up until this very recent period where they've kind of started trying to push him, but even that, he started losing during that period too. I think the way he was booked, and specifically losing match after match, sometimes meaningless match, on this show, I don't think fans are tuning in for him. It would have to be a rebuild. Yeah. You'd have to really spend time and do it right and get people clamoring to see him. And he deserves that, but it just hasn't happened. But that's AEW. And the key demo did rise in their defense. It went from 212 to 231 to 250. But that was AEW Dynamite.
And I got 231 to 250. And I got 250 to 275. What do I hear from you, Brian?
Well, that was AEW Dynamite for August 6th. But Jim, you know, another thing we're not talking about here at the end of the show is it's summertime. People are outdoors. They're getting sun.
Yeah.
Going for a swim. You get tired. The sun beats you down. Swimming all day.
It's like a heaviness, Brian, over you.
That's exactly right. Hello, heaviness. And what we're asking you to do is say goodbye, heaviness, and have a heavenly mattress and a heavenly night's sleep from our friends at Helix Sleep.
That's right. We want you people to take a load off. And if you'd like to dump a load, there's no place better than a Helix mattress to do it, folks. I'll tell you that right now, because no matter what kind of load you may be carrying, you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, or possibly it's in your lower back, or maybe it's in your sinus passages and your nasal capacities where you got the sleep apnea and you need some, or potentially you're just just a sweat rag of grimy greasiness in the middle of the night because you sweat when you sleep like some kind of worried international gangster afraid that you're going to be captured by an international fucking police ring any moment for your crimes. You're just sweating and shaking. They got one of those for you too. No matter what your defect is about your sleeping, they've got a mattress that can help address that issue. And you go to helixsleep.com and you look them up and you take the quiz and you assert to yourself which mattress might be best for you. You order it, you purchase it, and it's delivered right to your door, Brian, with post haste. As a matter of fact, with the expediency, it will come to you, and then you just put it where you want it, and poof, there it becomes. But, no matter what kind of heaviness that you're carrying, the burdens of today's world and the hurry-scurry schedules we've got and the people with children, if you're one of these families with 16, 18 kids, well, they got little bitty mattresses. You can just take the spare room and just mattress the whole floor with the kids' mattresses because a bunch of them will fit in there and just stick them suckers in sideways and along, kind of like a crosshatch pattern. And that way you can have the girls sleep one way and the boys sleep the other way. Where you're always
ladies and gentlemen,
feet to toe.
The comedy portion of the show has ended. We're now getting serious, and we're talking about serious things, and of course, serious seams on these mattresses. That's right, serious mattresses.
You can get serious on these mattresses. You can get downright busy on a Helix mattress. Again, I'll tell you what. So
if you need some,
that's right. Take your load and put it right on a Helix mattress.
Well, take a load off, and of course, get a good night's sleep. It's always a good time, especially in the summer. The sun beating you down, the star of the show saying crazy things, whatever it may be, we all
what's coming up? It's a holiday coming up. The holiday, Labor Day, where nobody works, is coming up. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, and until September the 8th, might I add, but take advantage right now because you don't know, they might run out of mattresses. Bunch of lazy people trying to fucking stockpile these things.
What? Wait, hold on. They're going to run out of mattresses because there's a lazy person buying up all the mattresses?
That's right. You see it on the news. You see it on the news. There's a bunch of lazy people trying to stockpile the mattresses. They're afraid they'll have nothing to sleep on in the future. But right now at Helix Sleep, the Labor Day sale best of web offer, exclusive for the listeners of Jim Cornette's programs, going to be 27% off. 27% off if you go to helixsleep.com/JCE. That's again, Helix Sleep, HELIX. Everybody knows that. We've been talking about them for years because they're fabulous people. helixsleep.com/JCE, 27% off for the Labor Day best of web sale offer thingy purchase that goes on until September the 8th. Just for you guys. Just for you. We did it all for you.
Very theatrical, but here we are. We're back. Hope everyone's in the mood. Jim, we have a whole...
That's what you've been trying to play. In the mood. In the mood. What are you in the mood for? Can we talk about this? Can you help me figure out how we're going to be watching all these things? And now, not even
I can answer helping
the UFC and the MMA, but I told you a couple of weeks ago, I guess now it's been, the wrestling was getting harder to watch. And I mean, harder to fucking watch. And they just announced the WWE deal that we were talking about with ESPN and this and that and the other. So somebody sent me, because I was saying, how are we going to get this? And the service isn't even up yet, right? You remember the whole conversation. So somebody sent me an explanation. It's an excerpt from the Wrestling Observer, old Uncle Dave. Now, I know somebody's going to say, well, you expect Uncle Dave to explain anything in any kind of coherent fashion. No, this is printed in it, but it comes from an actual media professional. This is quotes from a statement that he made explaining on CNBC how that this thing will work. Brian, have you read this? Are you familiar with this?
No, so this is not from the Observer. These are actually quotes from Dave on CNBC. I did not see this.
No, it's not from Dave on CNBC. It's from the guy on CNBC explaining the big business transaction, how that the service that they are talking about is going to work.
Yeah, let's hear this.
It's not from Dave. He just printed the quotes from the fellow.
Hey, you stop slapping it around. What are you doing over there?
Well, I say you get. Yeah. Anyway. Guy named Alex Sherman. You have any idea who that might be on CNBC?
I do, yes.
Well, he's one of these big business typhoons that are telling the people how this is going to work. So stop me, if I'm not clear on this thing, Brian, because I think this will explain everything when I get to the bottom of it. Anyone who currently pays for a bundle of TV networks that includes ESPN will eventually get ESPN's direct-to-consumer service for no extra charge. Well, that sounds just fine, right?
Right.
You'll download or click on the ESPN application on your mobile device or smart TV. There will be a login screen that asks you if you're a pay TV subscriber. You'll then be able to authenticate that you do, in fact, pay for traditional pay TV and get ESPN in your bundle. Once you authenticate, you'll get access to the new ESPN direct-to-consumer product with everything in it. That means that starting in 2026, you'll get access to all the WWE premium live events as well as everything else on ESPN, Monday Night Football, NBA games, etc. You won't get NFL Network yet. That deal needs to close first, but once it does, the NFL Network
that's a big
and the
deal,
games that air on it will be integrated into the direct consumer service too. The WWE live events won't be available on ESPN Plus. You'll need to upgrade to the $29.99 ESPN product. But again, just to be clear, if you're a cable subscriber that gets ESPN, you'll get it for no extra charge, and ESPN will not charge an additional fee for the live events. No return to pay-per-view here. But now, first of all, before we go into the rest of it that complicates the matters, what the fuck? It's easier to goddamn get into a foreign country than it is to prove to these people, after logging in and downloading and authenticating who you are and that you are who you say you are, to watch fucking television? Help me understand this.
I mean, I don't know what there is to explain here. He sort of explained it, right? I mean, one of the issues is it's actually not currently with every cable system. That's still being negotiated. Apparently, it's not available for me
yes,
yet.
We're going to get into that, but already you've got to log in and do this and that and et cetera. Are people going to want to jump through all of these hoops to watch? It's hard enough to get people to watch television.
I think the hope is you jump through the hoops the first time to log in or set up your account, and then it should be as simple as pushing a couple buttons.
Well,
and there you are.
Regarding the companies that don't have deals for their subscribers, I'm told discussions with all of these pay TV providers are ongoing, and Disney hopes to have most of them done by the end of the year. It's still unclear to me at this point if Disney can accelerate some of these discussions if their pay TV's carriage renewals aren't until 2026. Long-term, ESPN plans to have authentication deals with every major pay TV distributor. Disney doesn't want existing cable customers leaving the bundle just because ESPN is now available outside of it. But when the application is ready for showtime on August 21st, there are going to be a bunch of pay TV subscribers who aren't going to get their authentication access that they're paying for. It's possible this may lead to some pay TV distribution swapping. In other words, if I'm a YouTube TV subscriber and I want ESPN's direct-to-consumer product, maybe I switch to DirecTV or Charter if I live in that territory. I'm told that when ESPN does reach a deal with these pay TV operators, subscribers will receive an email from the distributor notifying them that they now have access. It's easier to get into the fucking state capitol.
You know what, though? That's a good deal for people.
And who's going to change? Who's going to change their whole goddamn television service just to chase a fucking wrestling show?
Oh, crazy wrestling fans will do anything. I saw some video the other day of some fans showed up at Randy Orton's front door.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, I wonder if he came all the way from Virginia Beach, but
wrestling fans will do crazy things.
Yes, all of the same nuts that are currently now supporting AEW and keeping them in business, and a few more that like the WWE, but large amounts of people to make these billions of dollars worthwhile. You're going to have 4 or 5 different services if you get them, if they'll let you, to watch all of the wrestling shows. It's ridiculous. Did you see about the AEW business? Their online business.
I don't know where you're going with this. I was just going to say, for cable customers like us, it's actually a good deal. If you can embrace streaming in any way, it's a bonus. It's an add-on. Other people.
I embrace streaming when I get up the first thing in the morning and relax my fucking squeeze-ums muscles. That's when I embrace the streaming.
As long as it's not in your fine mattress, some Helix sleep.
AEW, no, that one's for later. In the middle of the night, though, if you get the super absorbent geriatric mattress, but just real briefly, I'm not going to read all this gaga, but AEW and their line of the world, the Discovery Global is planning a new streaming service. And it would seem that AEW might move to the service, but they're splitting all the companies up. And listen to this quote. I'm trying to find where it starts. Okay. Wrestling, this is from Uncle Dave. Wrestling is a weird one because HBO Max does list AEW under sports, and those with knowledge of how it does say it was number 2 behind the NBA, but they've lost the NBA. However, it isn't a sport, and it's not under the TNT Sports umbrella, and the new service, in theory, is taking the TNT Sports properties. But from what we are told, AEW is under contract to Max as part of the deal they signed through the end of 2027. So they would be unique being on TBS, TNT, and HBO Max through the end of 2027. But basically with the Discovery people breaking up all of their goddamn TV networks and streaming and et cetera, they don't even know whether AEW is fish or fowl. What are you going to goddamn have to watch them? Read a book. That's what I say.
A survey just came out. That's the most attractive hobby to women, men who read.
Well, no wonder I've always done fairly well.
Well,
yeah.
This has been a sidetrack to I don't know where, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a pain in the ass already. Hours and hours of your week that we are expected to give up our attention to these people and their various ongoing dramatic renditions. And then now we got to chase how to fucking watch. I ought to just get the goddamn antenna I had when I was a teenager.
I don't know if it'll work now.
A big, giant wine guard antenna about 22 feet long with a 10-foot mast on it with a rotor where I could turn it 360 degrees. I could pull in all kinds of TV stations. And I didn't have to, once I bought the thing, didn't have to pay a penny for it.
See, again, you got to look at streaming. I guess the best way to look at it is a smart TV, which you've now seen. The streaming services are just channels, and you go to the channels and you pick what you want to see on the channels. You just have to log in, set up your account, and then hopefully the TV doesn't reset itself and make you do that over and over and over. Which sometimes happens.
Yeah, that's why I haven't watched TV in the office up here in about the past 4 years, because I got one of them, and every 2 weeks I says, Stace, can you come over here and hook this thing up again? Says it's offline.
Hey, realistically, let me give you 3 options. Here are the options. We're going to change the topic here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 3 options. Survivor Series. Between Survivor Series and Royal Rumble, there'll be 4 options. Between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, or after WrestleMania. When do you think Vince is going to be back on WWE TV?
Oh, good Lord. I don't know that they're going to do that because it will overshadow the work they're doing with Paul Levesque now. It's hard to even call him Triple H. It's like the old Eddie Graham thing. I got to get Dusty out of Florida because I can't get anybody else over. They're painting Triple H as the picture. Unless they just are painting the picture of Triple H, I should say, as the leader, as the guy, as the new visionary that's taken him into, the promised land, whatever the fuck. If Vince comes back in anything meaningful in any kind of speaking part, even to just say, hey, thank you, I'm back, meeting the ladies out back or whatever, it overshadows Triple H and his aura and his authority. And if I can't believe that he would just come back, nor would they feel it was necessary to do one of him. Well, he's just here. He's sitting in the crowd.
WWE icon Vince McMahon. And then he can stand up and people go, oh my God, look at that face.
Yeah, no, he's not going to do that. And they're not going to give him, nor is he going to accept an award. I don't think they're going to do that. They're not going to. They showed a clip of him in the Hogan tribute, holding his arm up, etc. Something like that. They're not going to erase him from history. Is he still on YouTube?
He's not on those Saturday Night Main Event intros. It makes it sound like Jesse Ventura was a one-man commentary team.
Well, but they're not going to stick it down anybody's throat. And also because they were featuring, and I guess still are contractually obligated to have Jesse as a part of Saturday night's main event. That made sense. But point I'm making is they're not going to remind you a bunch, but they're not going to erase him. But I don't expect to see him back on TV. I don't know what good it would serve either side to that extent.
It's going to be funny when he tries to start something up and he can't get a deal anywhere because WWE has all the deals everywhere.
Well, and that's, another of the things is they may not be anxious or if he would want to, but would they ask him when they know that he'd just as soon meet somebody at one of their TVs while he was making a guest appearance and then take their deal away from him?
Jim, I have some quotes here that a bunch of listeners have been sending in. Let me ask you about them. I guess this is filed under the category of, is this true or not? Or what do you think?
Oh, boy.
Paul Heyman was recently on the Ariel Helwani show talking about his relationship with Hulk Hogan. Here's a quote. He was always super cool to me. And even cooler to me, once he knew that I was riding with Afa and Sika, the Wild Samoans, because he loved the Wild Samoans and they loved him. Every time I saw him, he was a complete gentleman to me. The best thing I know people have both their glowing love of Hulk Hogan, and I know people have their behind the scenes how much they hated him. And that's a sentence there somehow. But first thing he's just saying he had positive experiences when he was a photographer as a teenager.
Well, yes, and that's, again, a lot of time that I was around Hulk Hogan was when I was a teenager, a little bit before that, because since I'm a few years older than Paul, even though, look at the difference. But, and if he's riding, Hogan would have treated him like some jabroni if he didn't know that he was riding with Afa and Sika, and he was kind of halfway smart to the bend. Of course, I'm sure Paul exaggerated his credentials like he does everywhere else. But yes, Hogan was very polite to him.
And you've always talked about the story where Heyman ran up to you one day, you showed up and said, you're not going to believe this. I ran into Jack Nicholson at the China Club, and he said to watch out for the racket.
Yeah.
And you just thought it was bullshit. You couldn't believe, you don't buy it in any way.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. So this would have been the same time period here. Heyman recalled starting in WCW in 1988, managing his version of the Midnight Express against Jim Cornette's team. A few months in, during tour in Chicago, Heyman had a memorable interaction with Hulk Hogan.
Uh-oh.
Here's a quote. I pull up, a limousine pulls up behind me. I get out of the car, Hulk Hogan gets out of the limousine. Brother, how you doing, brother? Hey, man. So since you're still doing it, right? I don't know if this is translated wrong or what this is. You're doing it great. Talk to me for a minute, brother.
No, so Hogan comes up to him. He's like, oh, I see, Paulie dangerously, is what you're saying.
That kid who used to ride with Afonseca, he established that they would have known him, or Hogan would have known him from years earlier.
Yes. Well, and now to be fair, he's on TV. He's worked for Vern. He's been into business about a year and a half at this point. Paul has, but I'm sure Hogan was watching like I was, taping every wrestling program available at that point.
So we get into his limo, and the first thing he says, he goes, how long's your contract for? I'm a big fan of your work.
Oh, boy.
Paul Heyman was surprised to find out that Hulk Hogan, the biggest star in wrestling, was his fan. Before Heyman could even express his respect for Hulkster, Hogan began praising him, saying, all he's doing is, brother, I'm only as good as the opponents they bring me. They always need opponents, and you could talk for my opponents. And there's only so many times I could bounce around Bobby Heenan. Only so many times I could throw Jimmy Hart over the top rope. We gotta get you in here. Heyman found the moment touching. He said Hulk Hogan treated others the same way.
He found it touching.
He said Hulk Hogan treated others the same way and always acted graciously.
Why did he go?
Well, again, there's no firm conclusion to that story here. My question was, would he have told you? Would he have said something to you during that period of time if Hulk Hogan had pulled up behind him in a limo, had a secret meeting with him saying, come to the WWF?
Well, possibly, but at the same time, if it was legitimately had happened, and no, he wouldn't have told me because I wouldn't be standing in front of him because he would have gone. Because it's the thing. Yes, they signed a contract. Him and Dennis and Randy when they came in. I don't know if they signed a contract when they first came in because Dennis left after 3 months and nobody fucking made a stink about it. And they finished Randy up not long thereafter. And Paul, as we know, between the time he came in with him at 88 and the time that I left in 90, had already been fired once and he got fired again. I don't know what his contract status was the first 6 months he was in the company, okay? He might not have even had one because Dusty had brought them in when we asked them to because we needed somebody to work with. But is certainly if this what time period did you say that he said this was 89 or when he first went in?
They said it was right after he went in after a few tours in Chicago, so I'm placing that at early to mid 1989.
Okay, maybe again, did the WWF run in town against us in February 89 when we did the pay-per-view Chi-Town Rumble? Were they even in the same town as us that night? But that was February. But nevertheless, Paulie dangerously had just left the sinking ship of the AWA, had come to Crockett Promotions pretty much almost at the same time as they were on the say-so of me and the Midnight Express through Booker Dusty Rhodes at the same time as they'd just been bought by Turner Broadcasting, where they bring in George Scott as Booker, and Paulie calls me the first thing, oh, God, we're doomed. He never used managers. And they took me and Paul and the rest of the managers off the road at the live events for a couple months until they relented. And Paul and I were trying to pay our own way to go to make the fucking match. And our angle with the Midnight it was basically cut off and ended by that February pay-per-view. And Paul was as miserable as I was. So do you think that if the biggest star in wrestling had made a personal invitation to him, I need somebody to manage my opponents, please come and work for Vince McMahon and you'll be the sunshine lollipops, rainbows, and, creamsicles.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you think he would have done? If he was under contract, he would have done it in 6 months.
I can think of one reason why he wouldn't have.
Why?
What did Hulk Hogan say? How many times can I throw Bobby Heenan around? How can I bounce him around? How many times can I throw Jimmy Hart over the top rope? Heyman wasn't doing any of that. If he was looking for a manager to take a bump, that wasn't going to happen.
Well, but he was working with me. No, he would have worked around it. Believe me. He would have figured out a way. He would have carried crossed that sumbitch. You think I'm taking a bump, but I'm not. But no, because again, a lot of people are thinking about, well, Paul Heyman's a big name in the industry, and he, he didn't even have ECW. He didn't have shit. He had his own press agency, and he'd been on TBS for 4 months. So it's not like I'm trying to be detrimental to his talent, but no, Hulk Hogan didn't beg him to come there 4 months into the fucking run.
This would have been right after Jack Nicholson told him to watch out for the rackets. I mean, he's hearing it from every side. He's hearing, every celebrity he meets has something to say about this. It really was a good program.
Well, I get that's why he didn't go to work with Hulk, because our angle was so hot, even Nicholson was a fan.
All right, Jim, our next question, sent via email to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com, is from Ken Miller. What is Jim's favorite breakfast cereal?
Oh, good Lord. Do you know how long it has been since I have had any type of breakfast cereal in my mouth?
Do you have it in your pants? Where else would you have it?
Well, I used to keep some in my pocket just in case I got hungry on the road. I have probably not had cereal since I lived here at home with my mother before I ever moved away. So let's say since I was 20 years old, and because she would have it in the pantry, and when I would want a snack, I would take Rice Krispies and put them in a bowl of milk and then put extra sugar on top of them, because that's the only reason I was eating the goddamn shit to begin with. Just sugar everywhere. That's why all my teeth are crowned. And otherwise that, I've never eaten cereal in my fucking life. And Stace has cereal, but she has like the healthy wheat type of this, like chewing roofing tile and all that stuff. And even milk doesn't help that. So it was Rice Krispies, because I got to have some crispness and some crackly and some poppy. But at the same time, it's got to have a bunch of sugar on it.
So you've never tried Cocoa Puffs? Corn Pops?
Well, I went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs when I was a kid, but my mother didn't eat Cocoa Puffs.
See, I still like having cereal around, just so I can grab a handful and chew on it.
Well, see, you're a strange individual.
Maybe so. But I have good cereal.
But otherwise, but no. And in the 80s, when I went on a diet and I was trying to stay away from fried food, I came up with a recipe from somewhere where that you would break up the Kellogg's Corn Flakes and mash them into a goddamn chicken breast and bake that. And it was like an oven fried chicken, but now they have actual oven fried chicken mix. So I haven't had the need to smash my own cornflakes.
All right. Well, that was your favorite cereal. Jim, let's get another question here. Jim, this next one was sent via email.
Actually, my favorite cereal, if you want to just know the truth, was the Green Hornet. Yes, the 40s version. And then followed by the Perils of Pauline. But go ahead.
Jim, our next email sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com.
Zombies of the Stratosphere was another good cereal.
This is sent in by Brian, but people call me Hutch. I'm a fellow Louisvillian as well. Anyways, I was wondering if you ever had any problems with any referees in Smoky Mountain or WWF or any other promotion. Did you have any arguments, fights, or disagreements? Thank you for the show. Keep up the great work.
With referees?
You ever just have like a prickly referee that you had problems with that wasn't one of the regular ones?
Well, remember that fucking weasel son of George Scott's, Byron Scott, became a referee in WCW for a little while when they hired him during the period we just mentioned. And even Bobby Eaton didn't like him. He's the one human being I remember Bobby just coming up on his own rather than even agreeing with a knock. It was like he'd come out with it on his own. Look at that stooge. But we never had words with him. I didn't have any problems with or issues with the referees in Smoky Mountain because I hired all of them. I wouldn't have. Every once in a while, we had one referee in Smoky Mountain that I would have to encourage him to up his game every once in a while, but it wasn't in a
Flash.
Well, he was dedicated, but every once in a while he'd do some inexperience, whatever. But no, I mean, there was the referees that they had from the state athletic commissions when Crockett first started going up. I mentioned New York, New Jersey. I think maybe, Pennsylvania was another one, and maybe one of the other northern states that they were just so old and they didn't know our spots. They couldn't keep up with the pace, and it hurt the match, that type of thing. But I can't remember just outright having out of all the stories I've ever told you, Brian, has a referee ever just completely fucked up and had to be throttled within an inch of his life?
I can't think of one. I'm trying to just think of referees you didn't like working with, even. Taking the person out of the equation, as a referee, was David Manning tough to be a heel in there with?
No, I mean, I got along with David Manning. He was the referees in Dallas were a little bit glory happy, except for Bronco Lubitsch, who didn't care, bless him. But then you've got Bronco on the spot shows, he's counting with his foot. Yeah, he couldn't get up and down by that point. But David Manning was, he was like the Bruce Pritchard of the Fritz von Erich world-class wrestling office. He was dedicated and there from daylight till dark and that whole thing, and a little bit full of poop. But he was another Rick Hazard, even, who rode with me in the Midnight Express on some of the shows while we were there. He was one of the referees. He was from Georgia originally. He was a fun guy. We didn't have any problem with him.
Are there ever any issues with that?
With it? Well, that's why with David Manning, you had to, it was hard to get heat because he was going to stay babyface, but he was going to be there forever. So he had a point. I'm sorry, go ahead.
There are issues with baby faces and heels riding together. Any issues with the heels riding with the referee?
Well, no, that's the thing. You could tell a referee in the territory days with kayfabe was neutral in terms of, if guys had to get a ride and make it to the show, a promoter or the booker or whoever was not going to yell at the referee if he rode with one of the boys. Or a lot of times the referees would drive and they'd charge some of the underneath boys trans to ride in their car, so it helped them make ends meet. So referees were neutral, but you could tell the top referee in most of the territories, the main event referee, he would choose to ride with the baby faces on purpose. And sometimes that Jerry Calhoun in Memphis was Jerry Lawler's brother-in-law at the time. So people kind of knew anyway. There was sometimes reasons why Jerry Calhoun wouldn't be seen with the guy that was about to kill Lawler next week. But if Thomas Marlin he'd ride with Dundee all the time, or some of the top baby faces. But Paul Morton, bless him, it was whoever was usually going to pay him trans, or maybe Pat Malone, just for the conversation or whatever. And it was accepted. But the babyface referees were harder to work with for the heels because they wouldn't, even if you were good at distracting them, they wouldn't stay distracted for 2 more seconds long enough for you to do your deal. They had to turn around and catch you.
They were strong baby faces. That's the thing. They weren't just baby faces. They were strong baby faces.
Yes, like, I'll brook none of your nonsense here tonight when you're trying to have the fucking match, right? But Fergie with Carl Fergie, they brought him to Louisiana to be a referee. He had wrestled in Tennessee, but he was making more money refereeing in Louisiana than he was wrestling in Tennessee. But every time I jump up on the fucking apron to distract him in a finish where I had to, and the boys are going to do something behind his back, he's like, "Oh, Corny, let me turn around. You're killing my blowjobs. You're killing my blowjobs." And then if it was the spot where then he would shove me down and turn around and the baby faces had foiled it and he would count the baby faces and they'd win, I'd go, okay, Ferg, get your blowjob. And he'd shove me down and he'd turn around and count 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the Rock and Roll Express wins. Every time he shoved me down, he thought about getting blown.
Who was the referee the night that the local ring announcer or the local timekeeper went into business for themselves and wouldn't ring the bell because they wanted to see the Rock and Roll Express beat the Midnight Express?
Oh God.
Because what do you do in that situation if you're the referee?
I would almost want to say that it was Tommy Young just because, you know, chances are it was a main event in Charleston, South Carolina in the Crockett territory that early in January 86. But it may have been Sonny Fargo, Roughhouse.
Oh, really?
Because he was still refereeing into 1986 and refereed a lot of. That's what me and Bobby especially always got a kick out of it because her referee is Roughhouse Fargo, and he was a stiffest son of a bitch. Boy, if he touched you in any way, and or to try to get him to fucking turn his back, but if. And that's the thing. It was like it took a few minutes to realize what, and I guess we've lost a few members of the audience, but early in the Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express's run in the Carolinas, it was a world tag team title match. It was, I guess, probably, when did they won from it was January or February before we won it on the Superstation. The Superstars on the Superstation special.
February 86?
Okay, sometime in January. I don't have the Midnight Express book in front of me. But they're defending, they were defending. So that, wait a minute. Have I fucked this whole story up?
I'm not sure. You've started several matches.
It was us defending the title against them. So it was right after we won it. Because the point being, we were supposed to go a 60-minute Broadway. And that, you know, but the timekeeper was one of the local in Charleston. Was it the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, or some type of, he was an older fellow that had been there forever as part of the sponsoring group or whatever. And we'd gone the 60 minutes, but he wouldn't ring the bell because he was convinced the Rock and Roll Express were about to win. And they had been calling the time, like 5 minutes remaining. You know, Crockett did that back in those days. 5 minutes gone, 10 minutes gone, whatever. And the boys had timed their shit to where the Rock and Roll's making a comeback. We got a minute or two left, and they're doing some false finishes. And after 1 minute, we didn't hear shit. And we're like, what the fuck? And that's why I look over in the time kit's a local timekeeper too. And I'm like, what the fuck? And they're just not looking at me. So they went a couple more minutes, and that's when we had to say, fuck it. And we did a top rope DQ or whatever it was. It's in the book. But the promoter, Henry Marcus, went to the guy afterwards and said, why didn't you ring the bell? And he said, I was watching. I was so convinced the Rock and Roll Express was going to win if they just had a little more time. And fuck. So, but in all the local towns in those days, you had local ring announcers from the radio station, or even just a local guy, and local timekeepers from the sponsoring group, the VFW. And the announcer in Evansville, Indiana for years was just a member of the State Athletic Commission that was a nice fellow, but as dry as fucking toast. But just, you know, it just happened to be whoever it was.
Do you remember the first time you worked with Tommy Young? And did you guys like gel right away? Did it take time? I mean, you worked really well with him.
No, the first time we worked with him was the first week we were working for Crockett. I can't remember the exact match or specific show, but he was the main referee. So the first week we worked in it, and when we came to work for Crockett, we were in Georgia, but still we did the syndicated TV. So shortly after we got to work for Crockett, mid 85. And I mean, you didn't really need to work hard to gel with Tommy. He was brilliant. He was best in-ring referee that we ever worked with, and he was just natural. And he was fun for me to work with and play off of, because he was so good at he had his own personality, but it didn't look phony. It wasn't over the top. It was legitimate for him, and people could tell. And just the little things that he did, we've talked about it a million times, in the ring, in matches, or the way he went for the counts, or the urgency with some things, or the puzzlement of other things, or registering on his face when he saw he had made a 3 count, but he looks up and he sees the champion's leg on the ropes. And then there's oh my God, I've made a mistake. It would just flowed with him. And we could argue back and forth with the people all day long, and they liked it, but it was a natural, a back and forth rather than something that we really planned. He just picked up on shit, and then we did it.
All right, Jim, our next question, sent via email to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com. I'm moving my mouse around a lot. I apologize. Was sent in by Alex in North Carolina. Watching some old WWF matches from 1999, and it got me to think, would Big Bubba Rogers had gotten over as Jim's bodyguard if he had the leaner but intimidating look he had in 1999? Interesting question, because shortly after he turned babyface in 1990, he did get a lot leaner then than what he had been previously. But to the question, would it have made any difference the success of Big Bubba Rogers?
Well, but he said in 1999. Is that? I got confused there at the start. Help me out with the start of it.
He's saying he's watching WWF from 1999, and when Big Boss Man was there, as part of the corporation, I would presume, he was leaner and more intimidating, he thought, than when he was bigger and intimidating.
Well, yes, but he wouldn't have gotten over as my bodyguard in 1999 because I wasn't even on television.
Would 1999 Big Boss Man work as in 1986 managing Jim Cornette? Or managing, bodyguarding? Thanks for the question, Alex.
Yes, it worded so well as it was. Here's the thing, is what I'm trying to tell you there. I think Bubba was perfect when he was Bubba Rogers for the thing that they were doing, just because he was so much bigger at 350, 360 pounds, when he first started. He was so much bigger than the baby faces and everybody else. And even he was heavier than the Road Warriors, but he could move so flexibly and so quickly and for a big guy, but he could do all that shit. And he didn't look like a bodybuilder type of fellow. So it was a completely different kind of a more heelish kind of size and bully. And also, nobody had any frame of reference for what he had never been anybody before. They'd never seen him before. Nobody knew anything than that they were being presented, that he was just killing people and just didn't sell anything. And you didn't often find in those days a guy that could be put into a top spot and last more than a short period of time because he sucked. You were just trying to steal a house out of him. You couldn't find a guy that they had never seen before and stick him in a top spot and have them get over on an ongoing basis. And he did. But at the same time, people forget in 1986, 1987, he was only like 23 or 24 years old.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Once he has the full beard, he looks so much older than he is.
Yeah. Well, and that was by design because he had such a baby face. They wouldn't have been scared of Big Bubba Rogers without, a little disguise there. But by the time he's boss man in the early 90s, and also he needed the size with Hogan. But then he had to slim down, not only because he had knee issues. I can't remember chapter and verse, but just because he needed to lose the baby fat if he was going to continue to perform athletically at that level. In 1999, he's almost 40. So, yeah, he couldn't be that big and be doing that stuff. But by then he was over as two different people. So it didn't harm his aura. I don't know that even though he was in better physical shape in 1999, if we'd have started him out like that, 15 years earlier, if he'd have got over as well. Does that make any sense?
I think so. What do you remember about the match with The Rock Ole Anderson at Crockett Cup 87?
Oh, good Lord. Actually, if you go back and watch it now, for a guy that's only been in the business at like a fucking year at that level, Bubba, I thought, was fucking tremendous. And they had a believable fucking fight because, Ole's not going to back down from anything, but Bubba sometimes would, and Ole would be going, make me. So with
I didn't know he said
what?
that.
No, make me. If he's going to be backing up, that kind of shit. So that's what in the old days, especially the Anderson brothers, they'd get in those exchanges, or the Funks would do it too. Guys would be throwing punches, and the babyface would start coming back, and they'd either say, "Keep going," or "Make me, work for it."
I get such a kick.
But anyway, where were we going?
I get such a kick out of babyface Ole, like trying to get the crowd going. He's like marching in place. Just everything about this guy who'd been a heel forever, all of a sudden being Mr. Babyface.
Yeah, and the same thing when he was a babyface selling, he'd start firing back up. And if you didn't make him stay down, he would fire back up and just take over. But when you look at those matches now, they're so different. It's so refreshing to see what that looked like versus the same shit you see every day now from everybody.
Jim, our next question was sent in to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Jason in Baltimore, Maryland. I have a what-if type question for you. How would the Midnight Express eras have differed if Dennis and Stan had swapped their runs? For instance, how would your time in World Class and Mid-South have been different with Stan? And how would Dennis have done in the late 80s NWA?
I firmly believe they came in the right order. Because, honest to God, and Stan had a little bit more success with the Fabulous Ones by 1983 or the end of 83. I think Bill Watts, not him personally, I think Bill Watts' schedule, Bill Watts' company, Bill Watts' territory would have run Stan Lane off in 6 months. And I think he would have said, I don't want to be here anymore. And he would have gone and done something else. Not even personal with us, or just, we can't live like this. Maybe we would have all left and gone somewhere else, but I don't know if he'd have put up with it that long. The first time somebody tarred and feathered one of his cars. But the road schedule and the fans' belligerence and violence, and did I mention the road schedule? And even for the money, because he and Steve had been doing quite well even in Memphis to that point. So Dennis and Bobby were a little more motivated to get the check, but I can't see poor Stan because even the schedule that he took on to come in as part of the Midnight with Crockett, and then he'd already started expanding, so across the country, a lot more airplanes. But I think we spent more time in the van that Dennis bought from Stan than Stan had spent in it to begin with. And just the multiple shows and the territory, it would have driven Stan out of his mind that he wouldn't be able to go out to a a nightclub that you didn't think he was going to end up stabbed with a broken bottle in, and fucking just that level of heat down there. He would have had to have Dallas. He would have loved. He would have loved Dallas because you were a star on television, and you could go to all these fancy places and the hoi polloi would make over you and everything. But he wouldn't have made it through Louisiana before he said, fuck it. I'd rather goddamn, as Sid said one time, go sell farm chemicals.
What about the money? I mean, without revealing anything that, you don't need to reveal.
Well, no, Stan and Steve, the Fabs for the previous 2 years, they probably weren't, between the pay they got in Memphis and the gimmicks they'd been selling, they weren't far from making what me and Bobby and Dennis were turning cartwheels and handsprings for in Louisiana, all things considered. By the time you take in the extra travel, I firmly believe with all of my heart that they were making Stan and Steve 75, 80 grand and maybe more with gimmicks because of the level they were at. And they were certainly not making less than $1,000 a week just from wrestling. And then, pictures on top of it, and they were the hottest picture sellers, and they were doing $4,000 a week in pictures and t-shirts at their hottest run, 83, 84, something like that. So they're splitting that, but still. My last check before I left Memphis was $60, as I believe we read off on the program here a while back. So with $4,000 a week, I'll entertain the option of letting somebody take a stab at me, literally.
And again, he left Memphis, Stan and Steve, and they went to the AWA, which, although the weather may not be to what Stan liked, the schedule probably was.
The weather outside was frightful, but they worked 17, 18 days and all big buildings in major towns. So I don't think it would have just been he would have been miserable, because that's part of the reason why he didn't stay longer in Smoky Mountain. We finally decided to retire, because instead of being in like not even staying at the Marriott, but being within distance of while we were at the Red Roof Inn, he could walk across the street to the airport Marriott in Atlanta or whatever. Now he's at the Super 8 in Morristown, Tennessee, and there ain't nowhere to go. And that didn't, Stan Lane cannot live like that. Tom Pritchard was fine. He's going to the fucking room. He don't give a shit.
And what about Dennis? Let's say you had 1984 Dennis as you were going through everything in 1988 with the sale to Turner and the booking. How would that have worked?
I think Dennis was always the guy who was able to get more heat, but Stan was always the guy that was more cosmetically pleasing for the pay-per-view era. And I'm afraid that, again, in reverse, Dennis may not have carried off the spot that we had for the last year and a half of Crockett, and then with WCW was just the blonde pretty boy heel team to go out and have the tear down the house match on the upper card, be the U.S. Tag Champions, whatever the case, and be able to be plugged back into the main events if necessary. And I think Stan looked better for the pay-per-view era and more television friendly than Dennis did. Part of his tan and flowing locks.
Jim, our next question sent via email to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com is from Mac. Just a quick question. Do you think that Punk and Rollins is this generation's Michaels and Brett? Two guys that hate each other, but will work together to make millions. Do you see a comparison at all?
Well, I mean, I guess I didn't know exactly where he was going, but I don't think that Seth and Punk have anywhere near what's the word I'm searching for? The irritation amongst each other. They don't they don't dislike each other nearly as much as Shawn and Brett did at one period of time. I know they were friends first, and then they made amends to however degree years afterwards. But at the height of the thing, I can't imagine that Punk and Seth dislike each other anymore, because they were going into, well, I say they, mostly Shawn, but potentially Brett was sandbagging a few interviews, but they were sabotaging each other on live television. Whereas so far, Punk and Seth haven't done that. So in the ring, classic rivalry, you've got a point going there. Two guys that at various points, or four guys that at various points are kind of like the state-of-the-art guy in the ring, in the company, or whatever. But I don't think the real life negativity is anything like what Michaels and Hart was, where it's just going to spill over where they're fighting in the fucking bathroom. Maybe I'm wrong, and they just hide it better.
Yeah, the money may help. Well, who knows? Jim, let's talk about some retro figures. I have some here, some recent arrivals. Let's get your thoughts on some of these. I have here from a rather new toy company, Latuni.
Now what?
I thought it was L.A. Toonie, but apparently it's Latuni, Latoonnie.
Latuni!
It's a very catchy name, I must say. They are doing...
It's on the tip of your tongue.
They are doing a line of retro LJN-style figures called Wrestling Giant Series, and I have here Andre the Giant.
Was that his footstep coming?
That's her!
Oh, so that's one of those big Peter North rubber jobs that just
actually
clunks down on the desk there.
This is the biggest Andre the Giant LJN in size ever, LJN style in size ever made. If you put it next to an LJN, it's approximately 2 heads taller. And he's in his
what's the girth like?
Let's not talk too dirty, but if you threw it at someone, they would go down quick.
Oh, so you can go down on it at the same time.
All right, I'm trying to keep
That's
this
one
clean.
Of those specialty items.
This is not what you're supposed to do with this fine toy. It's gigantic.
Did Vince name it? Did Vince name it?
This is my Andre the Giant. You mean like did he?
Yes. Oh boy, howdy! I'll tell you what.
Oh, come on now.
Talk about a square peg in a round hole. Do you know Andre the Giant was so big his bathtub had stretch marks? You've heard about this.
What do you think you should do with Andre the Giant if you were making toys? And let's look at WWE's Mattel line, for instance, because they try to, I think, to the best of their ability or something like that, make it to scale so that a wrestler who's 5'10", that figure would look the same scale next to someone 6'5".
Yes.
If you're doing Andre, what do? Do you make him 7'4"? Do you make him 6'10"?
No, you make him 8 feet tall. You got to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. And don't mess with Mr. In Between. Go all the way. Be Jack Pfeffer with it. Make him about a time and a half bigger than the other ones, because that's the idea of Andre the Giant. Then the little kiddies could all swarm Andre and take him down and tie a net around him like they did Gulliver when he visited the land of Lilliput.
Gulliver? And
set fire to his toes.
All right, well, let's move on from there. Maybe someone will put out a new line of Gulliver's Travels toys.
He went all over the place.
Jim, Hastel Toys, we've mentioned them in the past. They're brand new grapplers and gimmicks, or it's not brand new anymore, but their grapplers and gimmicks line has several new figures. I have here the model Rick Martel with his perm, a sweater wrapped around his neck, and a can of arrogance in the Hasbro style. Rick Martel, does he get his due? As a babyface or as a heel?
Oh, I thought you meant from the toy company.
No, and by the way, the finishing maneuver is the arrogance splash.
Oh boy,
which is never.
Yeah, I don't. Did you ever see him do a splash? Ever?
Not the arrogance splash, no.
No, and you know that is a shame, because Rick Martel does not. He was a tremendous worker, both as as a babyface, he was good looking, white meat, as they used to say, guy that when he sold, the fans would get behind him, but he was a very good in-ring technical worker as far as executing the moves, but also in terms of psychology and knowing how to sell and etc. And as a heel, he's French Canadian, and with love to our friends up there in the French Canadian parts of Canada, but they're a bunch of heat getting motherfuckers. And so that accent helped, and the model look helped, and I can see where they came up with the gimmick for him because he was so smiley and purty, but excellent worker. But nobody. You don't see any Rick Martel matches. Is Rick Martel on any of the highlights they play of other people? Now that you've brought him up, why do we not see more Rick Martel these days, just even by accident? It's like, was he never even in with any of the guys they still like?
Well, one thing to remember, he is one of the guys that during his career, which he took very seriously, invested his money, I believe, in real estate and made a fortune. To the point where he doesn't have to do conventions or any of these things that some guys have to do.
Well, no, I didn't even say that. I'm just saying
just never around.
Like there's no footage played of with it. I don't remember all these other documentaries that they've done on these other people or specials, them beating up Rick Martel. Do you? They're just not showing any footage. He's not mentioned. He's not talked about.
Well, again, it would be old footage at this point, but he was a world champion in the
If we don't need any goddamn money, then what are they doing to these figures? Is this some bootleg shit, or is he raking these people over the coals over at Hastel Toys?
I don't know how it works, but it's a very nice looking figure, and again, a very cool little can of arrogance, the spray.
What's it smell like?
It does not have a scent. Jim, another figure from Hastel Toys.
They should just put a little alcohol in there with a hint of taint.
Jim, I have here...
Yes.
Damien Demento.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
With his finishing move, the Demented Drop. This is apparently Damien Demento, and it comes with, I don't know what you would call his shoulder pad situation, but a very nicely put together figure. Looks like it's in the Hasbro style perfectly. Jim, was he still there when you came in? Because he was there early 93. And let's talk about guys that look like killers in the magazines, and then you saw them wrestle.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I'm trying to remember, was he there? We came in late July 1993. He's one of those guys that, it was a great look, but you don't really remember the matches. I only remember him standing there. I don't remember one match he ever fucking had.
See, I was seeing him on local TV here. He was in IWCCW, Mondo Clean. And he kind of had like a... I hate to say Road Warriors because he didn't have face paint, but like that kind of look. He had the crazy hairdo and the shoulder pads and...
Yeah. And I'm thinking maybe he might even have been on a Dennis Coralluzzo show or two that I might have been around. I'm not... But also there was a Damien Demento and a Danny Demento. Wasn't there?
Well, this is Damien.
Well, as Fats Domino. So the point is, great look, but...
Which name passes the name test? Mondo Clean or the name Vince McMahon gave him, Damien Demento?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would bet the farm on either one of them, but I would go with Damien Demento over Mondo Clean. Unless I was bald-headed with earrings and peddling Lysol.
Jim, one more from the Hastel Toys Grapplers and Gimmicks line. Brand new Santa Claus. A new Santa Claus Hasbro-style figure with his finishing move, the Sack Attack. And it comes with a big white sack.
Santa Claus, even when I was a kid, he had a big white sack.
What do you think of the idea of doing a Santa Claus figure? There have been numerous appearances by an alleged Santa Claus on wrestling throughout the years, sometimes not as a heel.
Well, that's the thing is, is this part of the, Christmas toy line of Santa and his evil dwarves, or do they have, Mrs. Claus to go with it, or just because Santa sometimes pops in on a wrestling show, they should do Santa Claus.
I believe that is in the works because I saw he's doing a Balls Mahoney and a Santa Claus, it looks like.
Oh, my God. Okay, then.
Mitch and Hastel Toys. Hello, Mitch.
Well, then do Boo Bradley, and you've got him covered. But poor old Santa Claus, maybe I could see that, but I don't know about Santa Claus because,
That is one of those things we still need is a line of guys in their Smoky Mountain, I hate to say character, but as they were in Smoky Mountain, we have a Tony Anthony as a plumber. Apparently there's one coming up of him as a hillbilly, but not one of him as the dirty white boy, which
he was for like 15 years.
Well, Jim, let's go to another line of toys here. These just came in. A lot of people like me were waiting for them, and these are spectacular. These guys deliver every time. Epic Toys, their Wrestling Megastar series. 4 new figures. I'll start with this one. Barry Windham. And he's wearing the vest. It's a soft goods vest, little leather vest here, that he wore in the early 90s, but it's like the 1988-89 version of Barry Windham. Blonde hair. You could change his hand to give him a claw hand with the black glove. What did you think of Barry Windham when he finally turned heel in 1988?
Oh, well, again, BW from 1984 through 1989 or thereabouts was just surreal in how good he was in the ring for a guy that tall, and that body weight, how he could move that fast and that gracefully, and the effortless bumps he took and the way he threw himself into everything. And he could sell his ass off as a baby face, but as a heel, he had the mulligan demeanor. He was incredible in the ring, and everybody considered him one of the top 5 guys in the ring in the business when it came to strictly pro wrestling performing. And, again, with today's eyesight or today's glasses on, as they say, he was a dadgum good promo because he didn't sound canned and over dramatic and phony like the guys do today, but he wasn't the promo of the people that surrounded him, the Flairs and the Arns and the Dusties and all of the NWA guys. So, that's what everybody always wanted him to be, the guy in the NWA, which he was in the ring. His promos may have been good enough to get by because he was so good in the ring, but he wasn't the charismatic vocal draw of, the top guys. And then everything just kind of over the next few years went to hell.
What'd you think of the idea of him using the claw and wearing the black glove?
That was great because even though another generation had gone by in the Carolinas and Georgia since Blackjack Mulligan had been the top guy there, and there was a whole nother part of the country that maybe had not even seen Blackjack Mulligan. It wasn't like they were playing off of the thing with the new Blackjacks when Bradshaw and Wyndham were the new Blackjacks and they had to copy Lanza and Mulligan. It was just, here's this fucking big, tall kid from Texas, and he's got the fucking glove on to this claw hand that he's using. And his hands were fucking big, as the rest of him was big too. Don't take that the way it sounded. And so it worked on his own, but it was an homage, if you were in the know, to Blackjack. But that you could also slip something in the glove and blah, blah, blah. It was a thing as a heel to get heat. It wasn't just kind of corny because his dad did it. It was his own thing. I didn't mind that. As a heel, he did great work at that time period.
Were you surprised when they turned him? I mean, him and Luger were just put together just before that. Luger had just turned just before that. Were you surprised when he turned on Luger?
To be honest, I may have been, but I can't remember exactly. And I can't remember why they did it. Because it didn't involve us at that period of time.
The Horseman's money.
That's right.
And women.
But I think at that point, they also, with Ole had bowed out by that point, they wanted to beef up the Horseman. And Flair loved Wyndham, and so JJ, Dusty obviously did. So it was just like, let's beef up the Horseman.
Jim, another figure from this line of wrestling megastars, Epic Toys, the Barbarian. This is the look he had in the early 90s in the WWF after Bobby Heenan started managing him. After he kind of dropped the Road Warrior-esque look, grew his hair out, no more face paint, and had fur. He had this figure here has a.
Didn't he also have antlers on a helmet? Or am I thinking of Nord?
This figure has a removable antler crown. It also has a soft goods furry. It's actually feels very nice. A furry. This is not a vest. It is a cape, I guess you would say. The Barbarian. What do you think? I mean, he's got that name, and it's such a great name. What should his look be? Should it be something like that? Should it be something like the face-painted crazy guy in the Paul Jones family?
Well, I see where they were going with, the face paint and the leather wristbands and accoutrements that guys were wearing at that point in time, if they were a big guy with, a good body, was kind of an homage to the Road Warriors. Well, not kind of an outright ripoff for the most part of the Road Warriors. But the Barbarian, to me, I can see if you would have more of a medieval type of, but I would hope maybe more of a Thor, God of Thunder type of, boots and, whatever, maybe the furry cape, but not like a caveman where it's kind of over the top funny. Because Barbarian at that point looked like he would eat you for lunch. Or maybe a Conan type of thing is more what I'm trying to say. But as I recall, the antlers didn't look any more serious on him than it did when the Boogeyman tried to wear them. And it just kind of, it looked like it was a little too cartoon, as Frank Hickey would say, and doomed him to the mid-card.
I just saw Body Slam again the other day for the first time in a while. I forgot how much I like his voice, the Barbarian, because he could barely speak English, it seems like, but one of his lines to M. Harry Smilak is, "Your name, Smilak?" He can't even say it, but his voice sounds so funny.
Is it your name, Smilak? He's been in this country for 45 fucking years, and he still talks kind of like that.
They would have worked as a tag team. Looking at them in that movie, T.J. Khan and the Barbarian worked well together in terms of look and style at that point. Jim, 2 more figures here. Same line, Epic Toys. Steve Dr. Death Williams. This comes with his white and red robe, his Dr. Death boots. A fine-looking figure here, Steve Dr. Death Williams. Will we ever get an 84 Mid-South Dr. Death? Blue singlet. Big gut. We will find out. This one's in good shape. Finally, Jim, from Epic Toys, Wrestling Megastars, Ric Flair, and this is Ric Flair in his green robe with the green trunks and everything, but they actually have a fancy little robe here that the figure comes with, and give them credit. They are the first toy line to put out a Ric Flair figure in the last few years that doesn't have blowjob mouth. I know everyone wants it to go, woo, but when you actually try to put it in a figure, it just looks like he's ready to blow someone.
Yeah, it's like a 6-inch tall version of a sex doll, right? And I want to not only the rookie Dr. Death Steve Williams before he lost the weight and trimmed down and had the blue singlet on, but how about the real rookie when he had a T-shirt on underneath that? Yeah. That was real early.
The white shirt.
And with Flair now, is this the Lion jungle robe, like Elvis's Jungle Room, the jungle robe?
Yes, I believe so. It's yeah.
So the figure only costs $39.95, but the robe costs $5,000, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I wonder if the estate of Mr. Wrestling 2's wife gets a cut of any of these little robes that are made off her design. But this is a very nice looking figure. What do you think about Flair's colors? I've never been a fan of Flair in purple. Even though there are matches I love of Flair that he's wearing purple. I never liked it. Green was okay, but the older he got, green wasn't really a flattering color. Red, I thought always worked, but he kind of stopped wearing red so much. White every now and then when he was a baby face or even a heel. What color was Ric Flair best in?
I'm with you on the green. I was never a big green fan. Remember that light blue robe that he had? I think he and Valentine, when they were tag team champions had some type of blue concoction. But really, all of his stuff looked so nice, and it was different designs. And even if it was the same color, it was a different style or whatever. So except for, like I said, the green and honestly, I didn't have a problem with the purple. I thought the purple was cool, and he had he had different color tights, knee pads, or trunks, I should say, knee pads, boots for every occasion. Only the green. You see anything green? Not a fan of the green.
So you weren't a fan of the light blue trunks. You're not talking about the robe from Starrcade 83, because I never liked that robe, even though that's one of his most famous ones.
I can't remember. But I like blue. I'm a fan of blue. Baby blue, robin's egg blue, navy blue, blue velvet, cordon blue.
Well, again, very cool figure. These are from Epic Toys. And on the topic of figures, you may want a Jim Cornette figure, and there's a place to get it right now, and that's Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com.
Well, that's exactly right. And folks, I don't even know if I can reveal the news right now because it may take till next week to get set up, but we have new product coming up on the website at JimCornette.com. You just go there and click on collectibles. So you'll want to tune in next week when we make that announcement. And there's also always DVDs, books, t-shirts, action figures, and more. And big news coming up next month. It's just a couple weeks now. I will be able to reveal and revelate what the fine wrestling connoisseurs are going to be wanting to purchase out there this holiday season for Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Arbor Day, and everything everybody celebrates.
Cornosaurs.
The connoisseurs of fine Cornette collectibles. Connoisseurs.
That's right. At JimCornette.com, all of those things.
Right there.
Well, Jim, we're talking figures and we're talking commerce and we're talking storefronts. I actually don't know if we're talking storefronts, but everyone needs a storefront, either real or virtually.
Or imagined.
If you have a business, a real business, not an imagined business, but you could use a virtual storefront. And of course, we have talked about how our online store is powered by our friends at Shopify, and we think we could tell a lot of other people something else, right, Jim?
Something else, anything else. Just stop it, man. I'll tell you what, right now, you're going to get more than a storefront. You're going to get the whole daggum store. People, when they walk through the door, they're not just going to automatically be in the backyard. You're going to get a store to go behind that storefront because that's how good Shopify is. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world. 10% of all e-commerce in the United States of America today is tied up with Shopify there, and you can make it 11%. And they will send out a team of contractors and carpenters to build your storefront and put your store behind it. And then they'll tell you how your shit ought to look when it goes on sale. And then they'll find your customers and they'll tell them all about it. They will send people up and down the streets of every major city, tapping people on the shoulder going, "Hey, did you hear about Herb's seasoning? He's got seasoning for Dalmatian flanks. And you can buy it from us right now." And they'll pull it out of their pockets. That's how personal the service from Shopify is. Brian, well, as a matter of fact, you've seen the Shopify team wearing our show shirts. That's hard to say. Shopify team wearing our show shirts. They walk down the streets. They tap people on the shoulder. They say, "Hey, you want to buy this shirt off of me?"
That's not how it works.
People will give them $10 just to get them to go away. They don't even want the shirt.
Again, let's go back to the very beginning where we all began, ladies and gentlemen. Virtual storefront, and you need a partner for your business, someone who can make sure your products are available everywhere on the World Wide Web, if we are still indeed calling it that. Of course, our online store, you can go to ArcadianVanguard.com, but the great thing is, you can just go to the Shop app and search for Jim Cornette. Boom! Drive Thru t-shirts. The Shop app is where you want to be for your products.
And that's where that purple pay button is. Is it purple, Brian, or would you say that that's more of a lavender mauve? But nevertheless, even if it's more lilac-y,
Lilac. I would say it's lilac-y.
It's lilac-y. It's a very lilac-y color purple that you can just punch that. Everybody knows what that is. You punch that button, the elevator comes, the whole nine yards. So anyway, Shopify, they'll help you with product images, product descriptions, generating discount codes, social media campaigns. They will tell people about your product, and then they will enable them to give them money where they will then turn over and give it to you, and you will have the money and you'll send out the product, and boom, and there goes the kid in the bicycle. And they've got 24/7 customer support in case you want to call a lawyer to sue that kid that ran you down with that bicycle. But you can turn your dreams into reality. And cha-ching.
Let's focus on, we can talk about ka-ching. There's ka-ching. Yes. I can't say it, but we can focus on it.
Yes.
Let's focus on reality. The thing that is scaring me so much at this moment. Jim.
Yes.
Reality is every businessman needs an online store that they know and trust, a partner they can rely on. We trust Shopify. The wrestling toy makers can shop Shopify, can trust Shopify, and so can the listeners. And we have a great promo code with a sale, with a great deal, I should say. We should probably get to all this before this all goes even worse.
Why don't you just stop, man? Sign up right now for a $1 a month trial period, because Shopify is reality. Shopify.com/JCE. You're going to get a $1 a month trial period so they can hook you. They can get their claws into you and they can show you how indispensable they can be in your life, ladies and gentlemen. Shopify.com/JCE. $1 a month trial period. Start selling today.
Well, there it is, the official ka-ching of Shopify. We trust them. You can too. Check them out. Jim, let's get to some modern wrestling talk before we close out with some talk about something we promised the people a few weeks ago, WWE Unreal.
With other talk, we will do this talk before we do the other talk.
Real quick, before we get going, I don't know if you've seen the images on social media. They're going around, and a lot of people naturally are sending them over. Vince McMahon was on a special that I believe aired on Fox. I did not get to see it. It was a TMZ Hulk Hogan special, hosted by Harvey Levitt of TMZ, where he had a sit-down interview with Vince, remotely.
Yes.
In an office that had 14th and I behind him, his new corporate offices. Did you see any of the footage, or at least the images? Did you see anything?
I have seen a couple clips and a couple of the pictures that people were. My God, now he looks like Sputnik Monroe. It with the gray
Pepe Le Pew.
But what has he done? And folks, what I'm trying to describe, and I'm flabbergasted here, bumfuzzled. Before, when we saw him, he was the silent movie villain and his hair was jet black. Well, now a lot of it is still jet black, but there's a gray streak in the front where he looked like Sputnik Monroe if Sputnik was 5 minutes into his own cremation. And between that...
With a lilac-y tint.
With a lilac-y tint on his lips.
And his eyes.
Lips look... No, that's not lilac around the eyes. That's some kind of shade of gonorrhea magenta. But hold on, we'll get to the eyes. The lips, it looks like that he's got some kind of tube in him that's literally sucking all the oxygen out of his body, because your lips turn blue when you're suffocating or whatever. And his cheeks and his chin now look like his dad, Vince Sr., but the shape of them, because he was a kind of a jowly fellow, never met him, unfortunately. But Vince Sr. aged naturally, I guess is the term to say, and also didn't make it to 80. So the rest of Vince's face, the eyes, it's like they're not... The holes of his eyes are getting smaller to where all you can see is the pupils peeking out. And it looks like is that rosacea? or some skin condition around the eyes that caused them to look like two red piss holes in a snowbank?
See, I don't know, because the other thing is, as you're looking at visually what he looks like now, you hear his voice, and it's, hey, I mean, I do a bad, goofy, awful impression of it, but it's not too far off. He sounds so gruff now. So between the look and that, I can't imagine any meeting isn't uncomfortable. And that's before he says anything.
Yeah, it's like when he's looking at you, the eyes are so watery and constricted of some kind. It's like something's pleading to get out.
I'm sure there's plenty pleading to get out. What do you think about him being upset about not being invited to the Hulk Hogan tribute on Raw?
Well, that was the two things. He felt that Hogan didn't deserve to be booed like he was in Los Angeles. That was terrible, and he was offended at being left out of, or he didn't say offended, but he felt he should have been there. I can't remember the exact verbiage of it. That he should have been there on stage with everybody else. But here's the thing: it's TMZ. Now, for people who talk about fake news, I mean, does anybody even consider TMZ news, or do they know that it's puff pieces on celebrities? I would think so. There was no shocking unplowed ground that was covered in this, was there?
Not really. I mean, again, TMZ, it's typically stuff that celebrities want out there. Their publicists will say to the paparazzi, be here at 5. There's stuff that's unflattering to celebrities. And then there's just, hey, we're going to air 911 calls of celebrities you love, which is disgusting in my eyes. But this wasn't really a news thing. This was like them doing a Hogan special. We've been talking about, I think on this show, we joked about when will Vince be back on WWE TV. He's doing interviews. Again, Hogan dying is a big deal. Obviously, it affected him tremendously. He crashed his car 2 hours before it happened. He was so affected by it. But
the universe had told him what was about to take place.
But again, knowing that Vince McMahon has a company and a staff and a lot of money to burn, and they're looking for properties to purchase that Vince can run the creative of. Meanwhile, the Janelle Grant thing is still happening. Brock has just returned to WWF TV. I keep doing it. WWE TV. What do you think it says about the fact that Vince is reappearing publicly? Because this is the most we've really heard from him since that Netflix documentary, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are not that many Vince McMahon, television clips and interviews or magazine profiles or whatever these days. And it's when he's at a ball game, people tweet pictures of him. It's a Vince sighting in the wild. But I agree that, again, Hogan was a big deal, and I'm sure TMZ having Vince McMahon on and WWE having Vince McMahon on are two different things. Because, I mean, as you said, TMZ, plumbs the worst of the sewers of the celebrity world.
Yeah, no one's going to say, how dare you have him on your Hogan special? They'll just say, like, oh, wow, he was interviewed. Let's look at this freak.
And but that's two different things. I still don't think there's a need or on either side for Vince to be back on WWE television. I think he probably agreed to do it with TMZ because, they're Hollywood, pal, or I don't want to do the hoarse voice now. I'll destroy my voice.
Because he wants to be out there. That's the other thing. I think Vince would love to be, despite the way he looks and the way he sounds, I think he wants to be out there in the public because he thinks that's the way he could defend himself. That's why he reappeared on SmackDown right after everything happened,
Do you think that it's just that nobody else has asked him to be out there in the public so far?
Probably no one else has asked him to be out in the public while agreeing to not ask questions about the Janelle Grant case or any other sexual harassment among former female talent in WWE.
Or anything else except...
Yeah. I heard that he was at the Hogan funeral and Laurinaitis was too. What was that like?
Awkward!
Right?
Jesus Christ.
Whole family's there and walks Laurinaitis.
Well, there was not... I'm trying to think of who was messing around with who and who was related to who, but was there... Is the Bella side of the family that has excommunicated Laurinaitis over the thing? Were they involved with the Hogan side of the family, or what kind of in-laws were present in this thing?
Oh, I can't speak to that. I believe Laurinaitis has no current affiliation with the Bellas.
He has no current affiliation with any family.
With any family at all.
As a result of,
The Laurinaitis family put out a statement and said, who? So, I mean, he's having a lot of problems right now. One last thing on Vince. If he had appeared on Raw, if WWE had invited him, they invited Nick Hogan and Jimmy Hart and Sergeant Slaughter and various people, Bruce front and center. If Vince was there, wouldn't it have...
I would have killed it.
It would have overpowered it. It would have become the story.
That would... No, if he's... I mean, Vince is brilliant in a self-promotional way, usually, in that he's saying, oh, yes, I was hurt. I should have been there, whatever, since it's already passed. And that, but if he really in any way wanted to honor Hulk Hogan, if they'd have been dumb enough to ask him to stand there front and center, he would have turned it down, because he would have known that would be all that anybody would be looking at, concentrating on, talking about afterwards. It would have shit on the whole thing. And would Triple H have been able to do the promo if Vince was standing there next to him? Or would they have said, well, Vince, you do it. Can you imagine that?
And the talent who had an issue with standing there for the Hogan thing, which was a responsibility of being, one of the talent, I believe. They may have had a bigger issue if all of a sudden Vince was there for the first time on TV. Because again, it ushers in the idea they're making it regular for Vince to be around again.
Yeah, so that would never have worked. Somebody would have put a stop to it, I would think, before it ever got off the ground, if it had been suggested and he was there.
Are you surprised?
One would think.
Are you surprised more people, seeing what happened with Linda McMahon's face and Vince's face, and they're not together and they live in different parts of the country, so I'm going to assume different doctors. That may not be a fair assumption. But are you surprised that more rich senior citizens don't sue plastic surgeons for the games they're playing on their face? What the fuck? There's no way. Vince doesn't look better now than before he had whatever done.
Well, and or do. As bad as it is, Linda looks worse. Linda looks like, with the character in Arsenic and Old Lace, the brother that had his fucking face worked on by the plastic surgeon. So the criminal, they change his appearance. Linda's looks like it's fallen over. And I don't know, she was not a bad looking woman.
Yeah, other than her hair color, I never saw her and it's like, oh, she looks so old facially. I never thought that, ever.
But for fuck's sake, if she's 75 years old, then she ought to have some wrinkles. Why would anybody expect a 75-year-old person to walk around without wrinkles? It's
a bad battle.
Bizarre that you would want to. It's painful. Would it not be?
I would think so.
Have your face fucking operated on and all that other shit just for that?
Please shoot some more rat poison into my forehead. It makes me look young.
Jesus Christ, the fucking bad special effects on Lost in Space look more natural.
You call those special effects?
Well, when they make the creature of the week, she looks like her face has come out of Irwin Allen's fucking costume closet.
I just got this book of it's a gigantic book of a collection of all the props and everything that Irwin Allen ever used on any of his productions.
I want a Lost in Space ray gun.
Did you ever have a toy robot?
I
From
have,
Lost in
actually,
Space, the Lost in Space robot.
Well, I actually have a toy robot right now. As a matter of fact, I turn left and I look about 25 feet and it's sitting there.
Well, before we leave Vince and get on to the classic stuff, on the topic of toy robots, I think I've told you I'm obsessed with this Antonio Inoki keychain I got. Because it's gigantic. It wouldn't even work as a keychain. I actually took the keychain part off of it, so now it's just a giant robed Antonio Inoki standing on a platform that does this. It's a keychain. People are supposed to walk around with this. He's chanting Ichi ni Sanda. It does that, and then it does this. I don't know what he says there, but it sounds awesome. And then I can never get it to do. Nope, see, it went back. All right, I'm going to give up.
Oh.
It has his music too, but I can't get it to play his theme music, which is so...
Oh, that'd be the best part.
I know, it's the most rewarding theme music. It's so uplifting and, nice.
Da, 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 da,
Let's see, one more time.
Da, da, da.
Oh.
Sounds like he's also got a problem with constipation.
Anyone who speaks Japanese, please let me know. What is he saying here? And it sounds like he has a lot of reverb, so I don't know if he's in a studio or where he is. All right, let's turn this off. All right, Jim, well...
Yes.
No time better than the present to talk about the present. You watched some highlights, and specifically the main event stuff, on Smackdown and Raw. So why don't we get caught up on... It's been a while since we talked about WWE TV. What did you watch on Smackdown last week?
Well, we did it. We had the extra show that we did to fill into things last week while our schedules were verklempt. And so I wanted to get back and get caught up with the main goings on of the top fellers on the roster in the WWE. And Smackdown, this was August the 8th. And I mean, I'm not going to engage in any kind of breaking news or, blow by blow description of what was said. But the concept of the thing, it just, again, astounds me. They're in Montreal. They're sold out 17,747 is what they said. And they had played the video of Cena and Cody and the Brock return and the whole 9 yards. Yet and out comes Cena. And yet again, Montreal, the Canadians are very forgiving people. And remember when Hogan was supposed to be a heel in Toronto? Oh no, we love him. But they play his music. He comes out. It's a huge pop. It's the Cena chants. All is forgiven. He's the king of the world. Through the flowery intro, he gets a standing ovation. And he just is a couple of lines to put the fans over and gets the Cena chants, and he's got them in the palm of his hand. And remember, I was saying 2 months ago, when you listened to the things he was saying to people, to the fans, about the fans, whatever. Remember, we said, how do you ever apologize to any son of a bitch for that? What if anybody you knew would say this shit to you? How would you have? No, they'll never speak to you again. They don't give a fuck. It's all phony now, and they just want to see people come out and talk to him. And he's having so much more fun being his old self. And obviously they have realized, even though they might try to tell you a different story over on Unreal, we'll talk about that eventually. But it's obvious they've realized, what the fuck, the fucking Rock he jumped in trying to turn somebody heel, wanted to be the final boss. He fucked us up again the second year in a row with our booking. And this is the stupidest thing we've ever done, and nobody likes it. Let's just apologize and move on. And so now they got the fans chanting, thank you, Cena. And he's saying, I'm afraid I'm going to let you down, and though you'll forget about me. I'm even afraid of Brock Lesnar. I'm so vulnerable now. But he won't back down. But then he turned around and did a fired up promo and told Brock and anybody else, if you want some, to come get some. And the place is going crazy. Before we talk about the next segment of this dramatic monologue, Brian, so can you even turn heel anymore, since everybody knows it's just bullshit?
I think you can. I think you have to really do it. I think the Cena heel turn, we'll talk about Unreal after we talk about the modern stuff you watched, but the Cena heel turn was awkward. It had its moments, but the longer he talked, the more he put down his opponents. People realized why they liked Cena in the first place. And it was near impossible to sell WWE fans, wrestling fans, on the idea of come out and spend all this money on a ticket to see John Cena the last time he'll be in your town and think they're just going to boo him. And at the same time, he's in a feud with Cody Rhodes. You know, Cody Rhodes, up to this point, this is the most lukewarm he's been in WWE.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of the year. WWE has not done Cody any favors this year, and I think that played a big part of it. And again, it's John Cena's last year, and you're saying it. Some fans will boo because he's a heel, but you're grateful you get to see him, I would assume, if you're spending all that money for a ticket.
One would have thought they might have anticipated that, but anyway, then here comes Logan Paul, because he did say anybody, right? So Logan Paul gets booed, and the fans get bleeped. You know, when he comes out and everything on his entrance, and he's got a great heel attitude and demeanor in the whole 9 yards, but I just wonder if anybody wants to stab him. I just wonder if you could really just get any heat when there's footage of the people that the heels are insulting and crippling, hugging them and thanking them for doing it after. But nevertheless, so he wants a match with John Cena in a great French city, not here in Paris. We haven't even talked about, now they're going to Paris, to Gay Paris.
Well, they did last year too, right?
I thought that was Puerto Rico.
I think they did. Didn't they do a bunch of different places like Spain, Paris, Puerto Rico?
Uzbekistan.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, anyway.
From Moscow to The Hague.
From
Milan
where
to
is
Minsk.
it to Minsk? Milan to Minsk. I couldn't remember Milan all of a sudden.
Milan. They went to Milan too, didn't they? Yeah.
They mowed my lawn. I don't know about you. All right. So as soon as he challenges for the clash in Paris, Drew McIntyre's the ring and gloms Cena. And they get maybe 10 seconds of heat, and Cody's music hits, and he hits the ring. And the baby faces start making a comeback. And Cody went to throw Drew's head into the turnbuckle, grabbed him and spun, and he was propelling him that way. But Drew thought he was going to top rope him. And I've seen this happen before, and it's funny as fuck every time. The guy going to throw the head is headed toward the turnbuckle, and then he realizes that the guy that he's throwing has already left him and has just launched himself 90 degrees the other way. And he turns on, oh, where the shit thing? And he tried to go push him over like he meant to do it. Oh, God. But anyway, so then they challenged for a tag team match, playa. So Cena and Cody, remember it took Dusty 1.5 years to trust Ole. It took Cody 9 days or whatever it was. But that was the setup for the tag team match. Have you ever seen anything like that on WWE television, Brian, where guys come out and talk for 20 minutes and then set up the tag team match main event?
Every week. You know, these are really becoming boring tropes, and you know, when you really think about it, it's just the way WWE's been doing TV for a long time. What makes it better than it used to be is there's no heel authority figure. But all this shit's been happening forever. Opening promo, music, come out, talk. Someone else's music, they come out and talk. Another person. There's either going to be a tag match or a 3-way or a 4-way, and the GM's going to come out and say, hey, you know what? I was standing in the back, and obviously I didn't have a main event because we're on the air. So now I thought, you know, gosh darn it, I got a main event.
Nothing was planned. Jesus Christ.
You know, you mentioned this is the setup for the match and how this is something you were joking about the fact that this is something they always do. What do you also think of this as the follow-up to the Brock thing?
Well, that's a point I was going to make here in a second. Besides the fact that, and they're going to do the same thing on Raw. They're going to come out and talking, and they're going to set up a fucking, but Brock, the footage was shown back in my day, children, or in almost anybody's day that's ever lived on the planet. When you have a major superstar return and lay out, goddamn another major superstar, he wasn't on TV, on any TV, on Raw or SmackDown. Was this so last minute? They just come and we'll work the rest of it out later. Vince would have yelled at us back in the day if we'd shot an angle like that and turned into formats. So where's the fucking guy that did the angle? Oh, we don't have him for TV. What the fuck? I don't know what the fuck's going on here anymore. But then Logan Paul and Drew wrestled the super team of Cena and Cody. And they rang the bell with 10 minutes on the air. And then they stopped so the fans could sing, Cody, Cody Rhodes. And then they went 2 minutes to the break.
Yeah, thanks, Europe. Non-stop
really,
on every show. Thank you, Europe.
Really appreciate it. And we're not even talking about the super group. We're talking about the continent.
They're about to go to France again. It's going to kick off a whole new season of Cody Rhodes to the tune of Boney M.
When Jack Curtis came back from vacation in Mid-South one time, we said, where you been, Jack? He said, oh, I've been in Greece. I said, well, we've been in a lot of hot water around here ourselves. So they came back with 4 minutes on the air, and we're getting some heat on Cody. And finally, Cena hadn't been in yet. They milked that till the end. He finally got the tag on Cena. You could see it coming a mile away, but they still wanted Cena. And it got a big reaction. So that, Cody was the top babyface in the company. And now that they've succeeded in throwing a little water on his fire, they have him sell and set up the tag to the big guy. And Cody and Drew are on the floor, and Logan Paul nutshots Cena, and there's a DQ. And then, I swear, Logan Paul and Cena just fought through the entrance. They just fought off. And Cody and Drew were on the floor, and Drew hit Cody with the title belt, and Claymore kicked him into the front of the announcer desk and busted it out, and Cody was left laying in a heap. If only he'd have had a partner he could trust that wouldn't have fought off when he was still in trouble. But maybe they'll revisit that at some later date. But that, there you go. I mean,
and we talked about what's next for Cody. What do you think? I mean, at least temporarily for at least the Paris show. What do you think about this as the next thing for Cody?
Well, I mean, it's busy work. Kevin Sullivan might call it a maintenance show where you're not really taking any steps forward. You're just kind of keeping everything going and giving them something. And, when it's Paris, I'm sure they'll sell out they'll probably draw 747 million francs and at least 18 beans. But that's the thing is we're getting more and more where the WWE shows have this pattern. They have all the stars and the professional workers, the people you want to see, but they talk for 20 minutes. They work for maybe 8, or maybe they'll go 20, or they'll do the same amount of shit in that both periods of time. And then they'll DQ it. And in the middle is Gaga. And over on AEW, they'll take a rusty fishing hook and disembowel somebody at the top of the seg one, and then it gets crazy from there. So but
they should use it. I've been saying this for a while. They should use this, even though they have crazy content. It should be, you go to WWE, you pay this amount per average per ticket, and this is the average amount of action you get in that entire night. AEW, on average, this is how much our tickets cost, and here's how much action, because there's no way it won't be like triple or quadruple the number, right? There's just no way if you actually did it that way. So, I mean, they should use that because, eventually people get sick of things aren't as hot as they were. They're going into new markets or, foreign markets, and that helps. But, there's a reason why I kind of started getting sick of this show earlier this year, and you're not that far behind me.
It's slowed down. Well, let's talk about Raw on August the 11th, Monday night. They're not in Montreal. They're in Quebec City, Montreal's little brother down the road. And they lead with CM Punk. And again, like with Cena on SmackDown, he's over. And the people are going crazy and they're chanting for him, CM Punk, blah, blah, blah. Big entrance. He's a star. But now we're going to listen to people talk to us for about 20 minutes. And even though they're the best talkers, and I got to be honest, Punk said he did the promo. He's pissed because he should be the world heavyweight champion and he's not. And he's got a problem with Seth Rollins, and he's even more determined to get the championship back. And when he beats Seth, he's not going to have to pretend to be injured. But then LA Knight's music plays. And LA comes to the ring, and they have a handshake, but there's a little tension that builds because last week Punk came in during LA's match, and he got disqualified. So basically, the whole thing is, you get in the line, I get the title match, the rematch first, and then Punk, you get in the line. And then they get prickly. But they got prickly, they also got along. And this was not LA Knight's brilliant verbal performance. This was not, it didn't suck, and it's better than a lot of people, but for LA Knight, did you think he was a little back and forth here? He's saying a lot of words to not get points out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He should do that more. Just go to that more often. When you get lost, just go to yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Heyman interrupted him, and because I think they were going long because Punk started to reply to him, and he'd only said a thing or two, and Heyman's voice interrupted, and Punk said, "I wasn't done," and he was kind of laughing, like, "God damn, you had to cut us off already."
His facial reactions all throughout this were great.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is there's only a few guys with the talent to weave what they're supposed to be talking about in with legitimate shit and sound like they're talking to you instead of at you, and sound like they're being real instead of performing, and react to things as you would instead of as you're told to. And that's the problem. There's only a few of them. Anyway, Paul comes out with the bronze, and he spoke French. He even mentioned Frank Valois and some other French words. And the fans were chanting at him in French. They didn't bleep it, but I don't know what the fuck it was, so they probably didn't either. But basically, Heyman cuts the promo and tells LA Knight not to trust Punk and has a breakdown about it. But then Punk dares him to come to the ring, and Paul likes the idea. How about we have a tag team match? Where have we heard this before? And LA Knight starts to accept it, but Punk, or starts to answer at least, but Punk accepts it. And then LA says, "Don't talk for me." And he accepts it. And then Braun Breaker jumps in and says, "What are you going to do? You're 47 and you're 40. You're 100 years old combined." Steiner math 2.0. But so we got a tag team match for the main event.
Thankfully, there was no main event planned.
Thankfully, luckily.
That should be a thing. That should be a thing one week. Hey, I thought I had the main event. What the fuck? You bumping me for this match?
But can't they even just do it once a week? Some people do watch both shows, right?
We're talking about how tired this is. We just talked about it during the SmackDown review. I even thought Heyman was kind of Heyman by the numbers here. Like there was nothing special about it. And yeah, they should mix up the formula. They're stuck in a formula for these shows right now. And before it completely stops working, make some changes. It's boring some of us longtime fans.
Long time. It seems so long. Time has not flown. But then, so LA Knight, CM Punk, and the Bronze, Breaker and Reed. And again, at least they gave them more time, but they did. I'm not even faulting them. It was a tag team match, and everything was done professionally. And everything made sense. But it's also, you've got a couple of the biggest stars in the business that you've got that you don't want getting hurt. So you're not wanting them to go out there and fucking create mayhem. So it's it's a TV tag team match. And they got heat on 2 sets of heat on both the baby faces. And then finally, Punk makes a big comeback on Braun. LA Knight takes out Bronson Reed. Punk hits the big elbow off the top rope. And here's Seth Rollins. Boom, DQ. Stops the go to sleep. What did we just see? Friday night. Help me. And then they got heat on Punk and heat on LA Knight, and Jey Uso's music played. And he came out with a chair and cleared the ring out. And here came Adam Pearce and said, well, enough of this. I'm going to make this match for the world title in Paris. It's going to be Seth Rollins defending against Jey Uso and LA Knight and CM Punk in a 4-way match, playa. And then Punk and LA Knight got in a fight. And Uso pulled them apart, but LA Knight elbowed him, but the heels came back in while they were distracted and beat up all of them. And Braun speared LA Knight and Reed splashed Jey, and then Rollins curb stomped every one of them. So, and I feel like you have to take notes on the shows now to remember which one was Raw and which one was SmackDown, because it's different people doing the same thing. What's Ed Koskey got to do with this? I thought he was a big genius writer. The hell?
Hey, Triple H. This is the Triple H booking regime. And he's getting away with a lot of these things that aren't too exciting. But again, you look at the business. Hey, the Ultimate Warrior may not be everyone's thing, but he's doing business. You know, you look at that. But there's a lot of the same thing over and over again. And just like with AEW, I'm sick of the multi-man matches, the 3-ways and the 4-ways. They don't seem creative at all times. They just seem like a sloppy attempt to get everyone on the show as a placeholder in between things. And
well, it again, there was a history in the business of having programs with people where you didn't have to add, you could make them tag matches with their friends or whatever. You didn't have to add multiple people because you could keep interest in the same matchup being rematched with different stipulations. And that doesn't mean that a stipulation doesn't start with no disqualification. Stipulations can be anything, and many of them don't affect the regular rules of wrestling. But there's no effort even being made to that practically. It's just, let's these two, and then let's put 2 more and 2 more in and 2 more and. It's unreal, Brian.
Well, that was Raw, and it certainly was. And Jim, on that topic, let's talk a little bit about WWE Unreal. We previously reviewed episode 1 of the 5-episode series. We'll talk about episode 2, maybe episode 4 today. We're not going to review episode 3, the episode that focuses on women. If you close your eyes and think, what would Jim Cornette say, you're probably right.
Oh, I'll tell you exactly what I said. I started watching episode 3, and there was a few minutes of Chelsea Green, and I'm not opposed to Chelsea Green. She's got a very animated spirit and an expressive face. But after I started fast forwarding to see when maybe we would get back, more of the world title match or what's going on with The Rock.
You were looking for Rhea. Who you kidding?
No, Rhea was on the previous show. She don't have to be on every show, but something at the main event level. And I kept seeing girls, and I realized I was all the way through the end of it and hadn't seen any guys on the. Because for whatever reason, I can get some indication of the freeze frames on the fast forward on these programs, but not on the goddamn Raw. I don't know what's going on. But that's why we didn't watch 3, because my time was limited. But go on about 2.
Well, let's talk about WWE Unreal episode 2. Again, this is all kind of the road to WrestleMania. Let's pick up from where we left off with episode 1, episode 2.
Well, they were coming up at this point on the Royal Rumble, and they started the show with a nice piece on Dusty and how Cody was saying, boy, I wish he could have been at WrestleMania to see him finish his story. And they showed Triple H giving Dusty's Rolex that he had sold previously to Cody as a gift, as a present. Of course, making Triple H the benevolent, ruler of the kingdom.
How in the world did they find that? If Dusty pawned that watch.
Well, no, they didn't say he pawned it. They said he sold it.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought it was pawned, but maybe you're right. Maybe that makes sense. No, well,
I would think if you got a Rolex and you want to sell it, Dusty Rhodes was probably, realized that he had contacts that might have money to buy a Rolex, right?
Danny Brown, you're looking for a Rolex.
I'll make you the world junior heavyweight champion and sell you my Rolex, kid. But these moments are nice. And again, this show is very well shot and edited and produced. It's very visually appealing and etc. And I said the things I liked about the first episode. There were things I liked, things I didn't, but I didn't hate as bad as I thought I would. But there were more things I liked in episode 1 than I've seen in any of the episodes since. You had Punk and you had Rhea and you had the people that they were focusing on. When Seth and Punk were talking about, well, we really don't like each other. There was, and Rhea, her real injury that she went through rehab for and the surgery, and that was kind of making it, okay, this shit is dangerous. And there is an element of, there's heat between these people. I thought they were going to maybe try to lean into some of that and make it like a really cool, a boost, a bonus to their programming. By behind the scenes, there really is strife and people jockeying for power and trying to cut each other's balls off, that type of thing, where it would be interesting instead of it's all fake. But one of the first, times you see the people at Gorilla in this episode, number 2, was in one of the writers' meetings. Are we going to let Owens pile drive Cody eventually? Are we going to let these fucking guys and girls in suits and little fucking sissy sweaters sitting around a board table with laptops talking about whether they're going to let the top heel give the top babyface a fucking move, to me kills wrestling. Again, the whole idea is these motherfuckers are supposed to not give a shit. Whether you want them to do shit or not, they're going to do it anyway. That's what makes them star. The Steve Austin principle. Can you imagine if in the Stone Cold heyday, if they'd have had some Ed Koskey, again, as I've said, the blandest white human being I can possibly imagine. Well, I don't want to let Steve Austin do this. What the fuck?
Should we let Steve Austin give Vince a stunner? Should we let him do that? It would kill the whole Steve Austin thing.
It would have killed the biggest program in the history of programs, Austin McMahon.
But again, this is all about showing you how brilliant the creative team is, putting things together. Tons and tons of whiteboards, and lots of things planned out, sometimes days in advance.
And that's another sign Vince is gone. They've got things planned out days in advance. So they did a long recap of Cody and Owens on the Saturday night's main event match they had, where he pile drived him. And again, that package pile driver was one of the things of beauty I've ever seen in wrestling. Perfect. Owens gave it perfect. Cody took it perfect. Looked great. And they've got the chaos with Triple H and Owens yelling and cussing at each other and shoving each other. And then they come back to Gorilla and Owens and Triple H are hugging each other. And thank you. I just went with it. Have you noticed that whenever so far they've had a camera in the writing room and Heyman has been there, he just sits there and silently humors people, but you don't hear him speak?
That's the secret to his success. The brilliance comes from not speaking until everyone else has aired out their dumb ideas.
Well, yeah, and also I get the idea that he's not anxious to have any of it broadcast either. So they were at the Rumble. Again, Cody beats Owens in the ladder match, and then they talk to each other in the back, and Owens is apologizing, like, did I set you down okay? I wrote, and also I was just writing brief notes because I was laying in bed because it was late and I was trying to catch up with this shit. Somebody needs to mess up Ed Koskey's hair. I'm offended by the presence of him on the planet. They showed Triple H laying out when they put the mark in the Rumble. What was his name?
I Show Speed.
I Show Speed. So that he was telling him everything is going to happen and everything. And then they showed it just as he said it was going to be. At least Braun murdered him.
What'd you think of Triple H sitting there in Gorilla with Stephanie by his side the whole time?
Well, it wasn't surprising. I mean, she was there that night too.
Most people don't bring their wives to work to sit next to them while they're doing their work.
Well, no, she was there to fucking welcome them all, wasn't she? Wasn't that the first night she was back in some type of welcoming segment? And it's easier for her to get on camera if she's sitting next to him, even though she has absolutely jack all of shit to do the rest of the show.
Next time on Stephanie's Places, this is her place right here next to her men.
Hey, there's no demand for seats in Gorilla. There's plenty of room. Everybody doing work can sit elsewhere. But I'm not liking it as much as I even did at the start because they're focusing more on the fact that they know everything that's going to happen, every move that's going to be made, everything that's going to be said. And they're calling it. And when I see one of these fucking blobs saying, I'm going to tell, or I'm telling a fucking wrestling star what to do or what not to do or what they can't do, it just, can you imagine if we'd have seen backstage footage in the movies from the 40s of like Don Knotts trying to tell John Wayne how to shoot a Western? It would just have killed everybody.
Well, again, a lot of people thought a lot of the focus of this was about showing you the genius of Triple H, and there certainly is a campaign beyond this show to make Triple H, as you put it, the Dana White of WWE, the face of WWE. This show seems to be something that they're using to help solidify that.
Well, it's solidifying for me, sort of like goddamn constipation.
So are those all your thoughts of episode 2?
That's pretty much, yeah, because did I go to sleep on the end of it, or did anything else happen? I can't remember.
Why don't we go then to episode 4, because this is really the big one, I guess.
Yo, is the big one, Alice.
This is the big one, the John Cena heel turn, the Rock and Gewurz, and their ideas. What do you think of episode 4 of Unreal?
The title was Heel Turn. And we've talked about some of this when the stories were going around of what had happened and what had really happened potentially, and et cetera. And we said, how are they going to, the WrestleMania documentary last year, right, was when they had to rewrite that. That was last year, right? When they had to take a while for that one to come out.
Yep.
Because they had to figure out a way to reshoot shit to work around everybody being pissed at The Rock. And they may have had to do it again to some extent this year. They start the show with the big buildup of The Rock. And Jesus Christ, he deserves it. He's one of the biggest stars in the history of the business. But since he has lost his mind and thinks he's a creative genius, apparently, when he's not, and has a team around him, including this little pimply-faced, greasy Gerwitz, to fucking tell him how great he is and carry his piss around. He comes in every year, biggest show of the year, and fucks shit up and causes them to do shit that people don't want to see. And he's not really. He called himself in the start of this program the greatest heel wrestling has ever seen. This is supposed to be a behind the scenes real thing. So it's not like he's working like he's a heel and saying, I'm the greatest ever. He really believes, or he's trying to tell people that it was. It was a stink bomb. He talked like it worked. He's becoming this version of, it was the most gratifying thing I've ever done. Jesus Christ. And then Nick Khan put him over. Where we saw after WrestleMania 2024, there was huge fan demand to see The Rock again. And they started trying to tell as we pointed it out months ago, the story, which is what it is. Well, Elimination Chamber in Toronto, it was a tough Canadian economy. How do we over-deliver? The fucking show was almost sold out before anybody knew The Rock was around, as we went back and looked, remember?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they got a boost for the show, but
yes,
it doesn't justify everything else.
They're trying to, Nick Khan is trying to tell us, and also we would get Travis Scott. How'd that work for you? Right? But so they're trying to tell a story. Elimination Chamber was soft and that they had to do something to spice it up with The Rock. That wasn't true. It was selling just like all the other shows were selling, maybe better or whatever. And I don't know if the Canadian economy was tough, but it didn't seem to be hampering the people that were there. They over-delivered by fucking up the booking when Rock made Cody the offer for his soul and that whole rotten pitch.
That's the thing. Listening to The Rock and Gewurz admit this is the stuff they're admitting to on camera.
Yeah.
What their creative and their ideas were. You know, there's a difference between Bob Dylan and Benny King. Benny King's a fantastic singer. He needed Doc Pomus or someone else to write the words, and he would knock it out of the park. Bob Dylan was a singer-songwriter, wrote his own words. Sometimes the wrong person thinks they're a singer-songwriter.
Actually wrote better than he sang, too.
But I think the problem is The Rock believes he's a creative force, and the reality is The Rock is an incredibly talented wrestling actor. And he needs someone else to do the creative, not him and Brian Gewurz. When you say I was the head writer from 2002 to 2015...
Boy, those were legendary years.
The people who discovered wrestling during those years probably really loved some of those years. For those of us who had been watching wrestling for a while, the shows were juvenile and awful for a long time. And he's admitting he was the head writer during that period of time. The period of time that led people to saying, I wish there was another billionaire who would just start a wrestling company. It was all of that period of time that led to people hating WWE. So this is the creative force behind this Rock stuff, which, look at where we are today and the Cena babyface turn and the lack of The Rock other than commercials for his movies on these programs. And that's not even getting into the disaster. That's Travis Scott. And why WWE, other than the fact that Ari Emanuel may be representing him, why would WWE bend over backwards for Travis Scott? He meant nothing to the business. This wasn't Cyndi Lauper appearing with Hulk Hogan and their picture in every paper, and people kept talking about it. They may have gotten a picture of Travis Scott and The Rock and John Cena in the paper. No one focused on Travis Scott. And then he smacked Cody in the ear. So
if somebody saw a picture of Travis Scott, would they know who the fuck it was? Besides that, to begin with, and yeah, they enabled a celebrity to come in and give their top guy hearing damage and then get away with and emerge unscathed. But yeah, Koski called this seismic when Rock asked for Cody's soul. He wanted Cody to, that's how bad it was. From what we can put together, they really wanted Rock and what's-he wanted Cody to turn heel and be subservient to the final boss. And when Cody was like, nah, no, then Cena said, well, I'll do it. I thought it's because he wanted to do it. Maybe now he was just like trying to be a team player, but
yeah, Yeah, and people have been wanting a Cody, some people, especially in AEW, had wanted a Cody Rhodes turn for a while. Maybe right now some people are even starting to think about it. If the reason it finally happened was The Rock, and then he had the same schedule, and he never appeared on any show ever again, it
It'd
wouldn't have
killed
helped
him.
Cody. Yeah, it wouldn't have helped him.
No. Well, anyway, everybody tried to explain what a heel was and how to be one. Michael Hayes, I think, did the best job of explaining it somewhat and had some Freebird highlights. But the New Day, they talked. Remember, that was a great deal where they turned on Big E and then they ended up wearing the same kind of shit and doing the same kind of thing in the same kind of spot. I thought they were going to be like a top tag team.
And if you listen to Xavier Woods there, he's saying, we are without a doubt the greatest tag team of all time, and we did this. And then they show the clips, and it's like, man, this is exactly the kind of shit I started hating on this show. Just childish nonsense for an audience of Vince.
Yeah.
And then they did that heel turn with Big E, and it was brilliant. And they showed the clips again. Big E, those facial reactions while that was going down were amazing. And then the next time we saw him, he was just hosting the pre-show. And they were a heel tag team feuding with the LWO or whatever. So yeah, completely dropped that ball to the point where no one cares about the New Day again.
Again. And Triple H said the hardest thing to do in this day and age is to keep a secret. Because everybody agrees that the audience wants to be surprised. Nobody knows what's going to happen. That's, but they're not keeping any secrets here. They acted like there was a big call for John Cena to turn heel. For years there was, maybe long ago, but not recently. But then Bruce, of course, Bruce is like, how in the world are we going to feature John Cena? Do it the easy way with the babyface matches, or Nick Khan again. Well, we had to spruce up Toronto and called The Rock. And Greasy Gerwitz thought that Cody versus Cena babyface match felt dry. So this was a quote. Myself and Rock got together and pitched a few things.
Well, you see, that's the thing, too. He's saying like we thought it was dry. He's not saying that as a member of the writing team that are in these Paul Levesque-led meetings. He's saying that as The Rock's outside creative person that, according to what they said here and what we've already known, they just drop in.
Yeah.
When The Rock's ready to come back. That's a monkey wrench is what that is.
And then did you hear the pit? They wanted Cody to turn Rock down then at Elimination Chamber and then Rock make a match and have Owens beat Cody for the title. And again, I'm not even disrespecting Kevin Owens, but no, they really wanted to fuck with Cody from the start of this thing.
And by the way, that would have been a disaster because his neck went out right around that period of time. Yeah.
There you go. And then, so now who actually said, Triple H doesn't remember. Bruce says that it was him, Triple H, and Koski were challenged with an idea. Koski said Rock and his team made the original offer, what we could do with the chamber. Blah, blah, blah.
And nobody remembers. The only thing they could agree on, it happened a couple months ago. But no one can remember.
And so Koski said, well, what if Cody accepts and drops Cena and sells out to The Rock? He admitted pitching that as a thing. And this fucking guy, what is the matter with you? And then Bruce says, well, what if we turn Cena? And Triple H loves it and Koski blesses it. So all these people are either had these ideas for real and are stupid, or are having to take the heat for having these ideas because The Rock and Greasy Gerwitz are stupid. But to protect The Rock from people knowing that he's a glory hound and fucked up all the booking, they all act like it was their idea and it was good.
Again, The Rock began this by saying his final boss character, which had one match, I think, and a handful, to maybe two handful of appearances over 2 years, was the greatest heel in wrestling history and the most rewarding thing he's ever done in wrestling.
And that's why he didn't bother to fucking continue any of it. It was that they shot it all down and nobody liked it.
What I thought was interesting about this, and again, even though this is reality or a docuseries, whatever you want to say, there are certainly things that are set up for the camera and things that are done for the camera. With that said, watching Triple H, the diplomat, have to deal with The Rock was fascinating. Because those are two guys doing everything they can to be respectful to each other, knowing what reality is.
And of course, they said they kept the knowledge of the turn on Cody into the circle of trust. Triple H, Rock, John Cena, Nick Khan, and Travis Scott. Again, who the fuck is this fucking guy that he should be consulted on any of this? And that they were including him in this, and he's lucky to even be there. And what the fuck?
And by the way, considering the way all this went down and the fact that wrestlers are now openly ripping on him because they're allowed to, should they drop his music as the Raw theme song?
I didn't know that's what that was.
That's what they announced when they went to Netflix. It was Travis Scott's music.
I've tuned the music out because it's all unlistenable, all the shit that they use. I've just tuned it all out. But anyway, then John Cena's reactions. Well, if you believe it, I'm in. And Triple H's like, no, really. And Cena, I like it.
I like it so much that I'm going to turn back babyface in one night on a whim for no reason right before the pay-per-view.
Cody's quote was, "This is the most confused the fans have ever been. You think?" And so anyway, Hayes said he didn't know till the day of the show, but they showed him going over the Elimination Chamber with the talent. I don't like, again, that part of it where even if it's Michael Hayes, they're going over move for move what's going to happen ahead of time, all sitting there chiming in ideas like you would do when you're talking about a match. But that don't need to be on camera. And I wrote Triple H's and Rock's talk seem strained.
Yeah.
Did you like the way that Triple H kind of manipulated Rock into at least letting Cena do all the physical stuff to Cody? And let Rock giving the signals? Because that at least kept that part of it on Cena, who they knew they could count on if The Rock decided to fucking fly off to Hollywood again.
I thought it was great just the way he agreed with The Rock while also giving himself an out because he knew he had to, again, be a diplomat where he hears what The Rock said. He goes, oh, I like it. It's good. Why don't we get everyone together, see if we can get everyone on the same page?
Yeah.
That way someone could say, that's not my page.
We need to turn the page. But anyway, and then they recapped the chamber match, which was a long recap, but better than seeing some of this other stuff. And they had even kayfabed the truck. But they showed Triple H calling the entire turn for the truck. Which again, step by step, it just takes some of the magic out of what you see. And then everybody congratulated themselves afterwards and patted each other on the penis. But now we know it didn't work. It didn't make any sense. Travis Scott bailed. Rock didn't come back. Cena apologized, and Cody never got to potato that fuckwit back.
Cody came out, again, looking worse than everyone else. Not as a person, but the way he was booked.
Yes.
What's Rock going to do this year for WrestleMania? When he shows up around Royal Rumble this year,
oh my God.
It's going to happen again. You know it's going to happen again.
I'm telling you, if he does it 3 years in a row, somebody in the office is going to take a stick to him.
That movie comes out in a few months. The Rock is going to reappear on this show. And again, in his mind, admittedly, he thinks this is the best heel character of all time, and it's his. There's no way he's not going to immediately fuck everything up again.
If he shows up again and fucks up their booking leading into WrestleMania a third straight year, I guarantee instead of going postal, people will start saying that he went Stamford on a guy. One of those fucking, because look at him. The pussy whipped guys in the suits and the sweaters sitting there all meek and everything on their laptops. They're the ones that fucking can't take the pressure. And they're one of these days, they're going to fucking go off. Goddamn, set the whole building on fire or whatever. Too much pressure.
Well, that was WWE Unreal Episode 4.
Awful tight in here.
Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. All right. Well, those are the words of Antonio Inoki.
Noki, Nisenda.
Jesus Christ. What are you doing over there?
I'm in your head.
Well, you sure are. I can't talk at all today. Any closing thoughts on Unreal? We'll do episode 5 next time. I think that's the last episode for now.
Next time here on the experience or the drive-thru or whatever this is. But yeah, I mean it's programming to glorify their new creative leader and get paid hundreds of millions of dollars from Netflix. I'm not a fan. I wouldn't have a camera sitting in my production or my finish meeting if I was one of the talent and I was me.
All right. Well, that was WWE Unreal. And whose show? This is my show. Hold on. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are done. But why don't we get a song?
Why don't you ever just run me over with that bicycle at the end of the show?
Oh, I already closed the bicycle. Hold on, I can give you some of this.
I don't want any of that.
All right, well, that's not nice. Once again, CornyDriveThru@gmail.com. I don't have it in my thumbs today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a few days on The Experience. And of course, next week here on the Drive-Thru, go through the archive, patreon.com/Cornette, $5 a month. Get you access to the archive going back to 2013. All right. I just want this music to play once. So annoying. Of course, the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Go there and check out all the videos, full episodes, clips of the episodes, omnibus collections. The official Jim
all
Cornette.
That type of thing.
All that type of thing. Just go to YouTube.
What
and
about
search.
Cornette's Collectibles?
Well, just go to YouTube and search for Jim Cornette. It'll come right up. What about Cornette's Collectibles at jimcornette.com?
Well, we're selling them. Look at them all.
I just wanted to play the music once, but once again, Cornette's Collectibles, jimcornette.com. Jim, the Drive-Thru is brought to you by the law office of Stephen P. New. Anything you want to say about Stephen P. New?
Yes, there is. If you don't like the Drive-Thru, blame him because he's the one that brings it to you. And he gets up early in the morning, too. Every morning, he'll get in his car and he'll drive around before dawn, putting the Drive-Thru in everybody's mailbox, and nobody appreciates it. Stephen P. New, newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE.
That's right. Get even with Stephen, newlawoffice.com. And with that, we are out of here. Let's give it one more chance. Come on. I'm going to break this thing.
Just don't hit it. You're abusing the thing.
We'll be back in a few days on The Experience.
On his chin?
We'll be beating up Antonio Inoki. Tiger Ball! Whatever the hell he's saying there. Next week here on the Drive-Thru for Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last.